The Senate Committee on Government Affairs will come to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Daley? Yes. Senator Ellison? Senator Krasner? Senator Neal? Senator Orangehall?
Present.
Senator Rogich? Chair Flores?
Present. Please let the record reflect we have 6 members present. We do have a quorum. Please mark Senator Neal as absent excused. Good afternoon, everyone, to a late afternoon here in Government Affairs. I anticipate we're going to be here for a while. I just wanted to give everybody a little bit of lay of the land of how we intend to move forward. We do have Senator Nguyen here joining us today, who will be presenting Senate Bill 297. We will go ahead and take that one first, followed by Senate Bill 156, followed by Senate Bill 420, and then followed by Senate Bill 449. Or actually, let me rephrase that. Senate Bill 297, Senate Bill 156, Senate Bill 449, and then lastly, we'll do Senate Bill 420. With that, a couple of just kind of laying out the rules and being clear with everyone. We're going to cap all testimony for all bills at 2 minutes. Our amazing committee analyst will be making sure, and he's going to kind of give you a nod and give you a 2-minute warning so that we know to stop you. We're also going to limit testimony in support, opposition, and neutral to 30 minutes for all bills, just for the sake of transparency and fairness. I know that there are bills today that have brought and invoked a lot of emotion, and there's folk that would really love to speak on the issues for more than 2 minutes, and we're very respectful of that. So if you do have testimony that's going to go beyond 2 minutes, what I encourage you to do is you can always email that to our committee secretary. That way we get the full breadth of whatever it is that you want the committee to consider, but we will limit your actual speaking to 2 minutes. But you're not limited. You're always allowed to send us an email. You can always have a much longer version of your testimony included. So I encourage everybody who wants to do that to please do that. And with that, we'll go ahead and open up the hearing on Senate Bill 297. Senator Nguyen, welcome, whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Rochelle Nguyen, and I proudly represent Senate District 3 in Southern Nevada, mostly in the city of Las Vegas in Clark County. I am pleased to present Senate Bill 297. I also have with me down in Las Vegas to co-present Sue Birch, the Executive Director and Coordinator of Nevada Now. But first I want to provide some information. Why am I bringing this bill? I think it's fitting, 1, 2, 3, 4, that in a female-led majority that this committee seems to be predominantly male legislators. And the reason I think that's important is because I got some emails and they were like, you have too much time on your hands. Why are you bringing bills like this? Why is this important? And I'll tell you, I don't have too much time on my hands, as many of the legislators here know. We are incredibly busy. I got here at 7 a.m. and it is now 3:38, and I'm presenting a bill after having sat in multiple committees already today. So I can tell you the reason I'm bringing this bill and the reason that I think it's important, even though it just seems like it's a recognition of like an awareness of a medical condition that half of the population will eventually experience, is because it is super important. It is super important for us to be educated, and recognitions like this as perimenopausal month and menopausal month will bring that recognition. I would love to be here in September and October when our governor starts talking about why this is an important topic for us to address. For me, perimenopause hit me pretty early. I started having extreme weight gain. I started sweating profusely. I started getting chills. I started thinking I was losing my mind. And after going to multiple doctors, I realized I was not alone and I was going through something that almost all women are going to experience at some point in their life, and to certain and different degrees. And so I started reaching out, and it took me about 3 doctors to find someone who would really listen to me, not give me ideas and not say, oh, this is just a part of life. This is something that you're going to have to deal with. This is something that you are just going to have to struggle with. Get used to sweating through your clothes in the middle of the night and waking up in a pool of water. Those are just things that you will have to deal with. And I was very fortunate because I have a wonderful physician in Las Vegas named Michelle Lynn, who really sat down and listened to me and said, this is something that we can work through together. This is something that we will all experience as women, and this is something that we will help you through. And that's when I first started to realize some of the struggles. It started with a Facebook page that I belong to that is called Law Moms, and it is moms with kids that are school age, and some of our discussions would range to what kind of schooling, what kind of summer school activities, what kind of camps we were putting our kids into, where our kids were looking at going to college, what kind of courses they should do. And it also evolved into, hey, is anyone experiencing this health concern? Does anyone have this thing? And it really opened my eyes to some of the experiences that women were going through. I initially looked at some more aggressive types of legislation around covering off-label medication uses for testosterone, for other types of hormonal creams, other kind of insurance mandates to get people talking about this. I also talked to some medical doctors who said, part of the problem is this isn't taught really extensively and tested very extensively on any kind of medical boards. So a lot of times medical schools don't even focus on this kind of education. And so really around women's health as we age, there isn't a lot of research, there isn't a lot of coverage, there isn't a lot of innovation. And why is that? And so I realized very quickly that I needed to start with education, and I needed to start with something like this. So that brings me back to this bill. Raising awareness about perimenopause, raising awareness about menopause is crucial for addressing the significant knowledge gaps that exist amongst women and healthcare providers. Many women enter these stages of life without understanding the symptoms, such as mood swings, brain fog, fatigue, and often mistaking them for unrelated health issues of normal aging. This lack of education can often lead to unnecessary anxiety, delays in seeking care, and diminished quality of life. Furthermore, societal stigma, cultural taboos surrounding menopause contribute to isolation, silence, preventing open discussions about symptoms and solutions. Awareness campaigns centering on women's health not only empower women to recognize and manage their symptoms, but also advocate for better healthcare training and policies to ensure comprehensive support. By fostering education, improving access to resources, and promoting community solidarity, raising awareness about perimenopause and menopause help women navigate these natural transitions with confidence while enhancing overall public health outcomes. Like I said, I think that is so important to start with education. So do I think this bill is a waste of time? Do I think I could spend my time on other bills? I think this is important. I think this affects so many women. When they are brushing their hair and all their hair falls out, like happens to me very frequently, I need to know that I'm not alone in that suffering. When I have anxiety, or when women are going through different changes, I think it's really important. And I think it's equally as important for the men on this committee to understand what their spouses, what their siblings, what their children, their daughters, and what other people in their community are going through. I'm also very well aware that there's a lot of education that needs to go on. The group that I was a part of that has these open conversations about everything from brain fog to dry vaginas. And yes, I said dry vaginas in a committee hearing. Maybe more open and maybe more educated to talk about some of these things openly about health concerns. But I also recognize that in communities of color, this is discussed even less. Access to healthcare, access to resources in this area have an incredible amount of cultural stigma that they aren't being talked about and they aren't being helped. And so I think bringing awareness to this through this recognition by our state sends a clear message that this is an important issue, this is something that is important. And then hopefully when I come back here in 2027, we can have some more detailed conversations about what types of legislation we need to pass in this area, and there'll be a better education campaign. We have a history of doing this with prostate cancer. I remember former, and I think it was the 2021 legislative session, Speaker Frierson spoke at the time about prostate cancer and his own struggles. And we had a recognition of that because I think it was very important to remind men that they need to get checkups, they need to catch these things early. And this is just another example where we need to show in this way, not only symbolically, but as guiding our policies in the future, that this is important. And with that, I'll stand for any questions you might have.
Thank you. Member, Senator Ellison, please.
Let me tell you, not only women go through that, I didn't think I was going to live through it. So, so I know what you're going through, but I felt like a very abused husband. So I understand. Thank you.
I think it's very important for our spouses. My son, I have a teenage son, he just turned 15, as many of you know, to have these open conversations. I talk to my family very openly about the struggles that I have, because I think in part we should normalize those conversations about natural aging process, especially with women. So maybe you have a better understanding in the future going forward, knowing how you can be supportive of your spouse, how you can be supportive of your family members that are having these real struggles. So thank you.
Senator Ellison, you're going to get in trouble by saying, "I understand." Those are fighting words, Senator.
Well, let me tell you, my wife is deceased now, but I'd rather go through it. But she did go through troubles, and then they found out that she had tumors, and then the doctors went in, thank God, and got the tumors, and they weren't benign. But she went through heck. I mean, it's serious, and it's hard on women. It's hard on the guy because he almost gets abused every day. So thank you very much for bringing this.
I also have Sue Birch down in Las Vegas. She's bright pink, you can't miss her, and she does have some remarks as well.
Thank you, Senator Wynn. Good afternoon, Chair and member of the committees. Yes, my name is Sue Birch, for the record, Burtch. And as Senator Wynn stated, I am the Executive Director of the Nevada chapter of the National Organization for Women. First, I want to tell Senator Wynn, thank you for bringing this bill and for inviting me to be here. Just for reference, yes, when my family found out I was coming here today, they chuckled. But this is serious. Awareness months have very many benefits. And one of it is, as Senator Wynn touched on, the opportunity for education. There's a lot of myths and misconceptions out there. We're barely taught about when menstruation begins, and we're never taught about how it ends, what it looks like, how it feels, what is normal, what is not. It's not just about hot flashes and mood swings, as the senator said. We also have risk factors of cardiovascular disease and osteoporosis, and any number of medical issues will increase after menopause. And perimenopause can go on for years. And, how do we have those conversations with our physicians when we don't know what we don't know? I told a few of my members that I was going to be here today, and it sparked a conversation that I truly never imagined having. The efforts they have gone through to find answers is just astounding because there's so much misinformation out there. They've had trouble getting a physician that actually talks to them. Senator Wynn said, she went through a few. That's pretty typical. I come from a generation where we don't talk about these things. It was just something that happened and you dealt with it. But it really doesn't have to be that way. We should be normalizing the conversation. We can seek treatments to give us a better quality of life, but first we need to know what is out there. And we really urge you to take this bill seriously and show the women of Nevada that we care about their health care and they are not alone and don't have to suffer in silence. Thanks.
And thank you for joining us in Las Vegas. Now we'll open it for questions. Members, any questions? Vice Chair, please.
Thank you very much, Chair, either for the Senator or for Ms. Birch. If Senate Bill 297 passes, do you think that healthcare providers will try to, will focus more on outreach and try to talk to patients maybe during the designated months?
Rochelle Wynn, for the record, that would be my hope, is that having like the governor like issue a proclamation, have a conversation about this from the highest levels of government, from the different branches of government, I think is significant because you are talking about it. We don't talk about this at all. And even to what Senator Ellison said, sometimes you are having these like issues, and if you don't seek care, you might miss some of these other health health like concerns that tend to multiply as you enter into menopause. So I would hope that we would have more conversations about this, and that the passage of this would bring even more awareness to the issues.
Thank you, Senator. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions? Seeing none, thank you, Senator, for the presentation. Thank you for joining us on a Friday. I know it's late, so thank you both for being here. At this time, I'd like to invite those wishing to testify in support of Senate Bill 297, if you could please come forward. Carson City or Las Vegas? I see some folk joining us in Las Vegas, I believe. Good afternoon in Las Vegas. Whenever you're ready.
There it goes. We're good. Hello, my name is Abraham Camejo, Camejo, and members of the committee. I come before you guys on a beautiful Friday here in Las Vegas. Listening to this and just reading about it really quick. I come here to speak as a father of 5 daughters, and I think this is a great conversation to have, because as raising my children, yeah, we're right. We need to start having these discussions at a much younger age, and have this conversation to move forward. So I'm 100% in support of this bill, and I look forward to more discussions about it, but especially on the education side of it, as my kids get older, and as my mom as well, as she's getting older as well. So 100% in support of this. Thank you so much for you guys' time.
And thank you for joining us. Is there anybody else wishing to testify in support of Senate Bill 297? Seeing none in Carson City or Las Vegas, BPS, do we have anybody wishing to join us over the phone?
If you would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 297, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 620, you are unmuted. Please continue.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jenny Stepp, Jenny Stepp, and I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor in private practice in Las Vegas. I am also a member of the Nevada chapter of the National Organization for Women and serve as the Healthcare Action Team Chair. I am calling to share my support for Senate Bill 297 and echo the testimony already shared today. I'd also like to add perspective from my mental health practice. I am a cisgender female counselor in midlife and have many clients in the same demographic. I've found that so many of us start struggling with new mental health symptoms during this midlife period. Clients come into therapy concerned that they are literally going crazy and undergo mental health assessments for symptoms that appear psychological. Without proper assessment, education, and local healthcare resources, so many of us could be misdiagnosed with serious mental health disorders when we're actually experiencing natural, expected biological and hormonal changes from perimenopause and menopause. This bill would bring more awareness and education into the community for healthcare providers and patients so we could get the care we need and deserve. This is a bipartisan bill that affects approximately half of the population of Nevada, regardless of political affiliation. For these reasons, I encourage the committee to vote yes on Senate Bill 297. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Next caller in support, please.
Good day, Chair. Happy Friday. This is Dora Martinez representing the Nevada Peer Action Coalition, and we appreciate Senator Wynn for bringing this bill forward, and we wholeheartedly hope that you support it. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
And thank you for joining us. Next caller in support of Senate Bill 297, please.
Caller with the last three digits of 160, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Again, caller with the last three digits of 160, please press *6 to unmute.
Can you guys hear me?
We can now. Thank you. Please continue.
No problem. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Samira Edwards, and I am a proud member of Make the Road Nevada. As a high school student in Las Vegas, the threat of gun violence is a constant concern. In December 2023, a tragic shooting at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas,
Ma'am,
resulted in the...
ma'am, I don't mean to interrupt you. I believe you're testifying on Senate Bill
Yeah, you're good.
156, which we'll be hearing at the conclusion of Senate Bill 297. We are still on Senate Bill 297, so
Oh.
if I could have you hold your remarks for that bill.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
No, and thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. We'll continue. Next caller in support of Senate Bill 297.
Hello, members of the committee. My name is Leanne McAllister, MCA, LLISTER. I live in Senate District 8 and Assembly District 2, and I am a middle-aged woman, very excited about this bill and to see some better public education. Strong support for SB 297. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Next caller in support of Senate Bill 297.
If you recently just joined us, we are currently in support testimony of Senate Bill 297. If you would like to testify in support, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite anybody wishing to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 297, Carson City or Las Vegas, to please come forward. Seeing none, DPS, do we have anybody wishing to speak in opposition over the phone?
If you would like to testify in opposition of Senate Bill 297, please press *9 now. Chair, you have no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. And lastly, we'll go to those wishing to testify in the neutral position to Senate Bill 297. If you could please come forward, Carson City or Las Vegas. BPS, do we have anybody wishing to join us over the phone?
If you would like to testify neutral on Senate Bill 297, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
Thank you. And I just saw Senator Nguyen tell us that we are good to go. Thank you for your presentation, Senator Nguyen. Thank you for joining us on a Friday. With that, we'll go ahead and close out the hearing on Senate Bill 297. Next, we're going to open up the hearing on Senate Bill 156. I'm going to hand over the gavel to our amazing Vice Chair Orenshaw. I want to remind everybody again that we're going to be limiting testimony and support, opposition, and neutral to 30 minutes for each side, along with limiting everyone's testimony to 2 minutes. Please don't take it as a sign of disrespect if we cut folk off. And anybody wishing to testify for more than 2 minutes, all of you are welcome to email your remarks so that we make sure we get the full breadth of your arguments. Vice Chair, please.
Thank you very much, Chair Flores.
He's got the timer there, so maybe he can do the 2 minutes and you can do the 30.
Okay, appreciate you. That's good, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Flores. Thank you for joining us today and presenting Senate Bill 156. Members, I'd like to open the hearing on Senate Bill 156.
Thank you, Vice Chair, esteemed colleagues of the Government Affairs Committee. I am State Senator Edgar Flores, here proudly to present Senate Bill 156. I am joined by, not only am I joined by some remarkable young folk, but folk that I call friends and individuals who understand the importance of getting involved at a young age. And rather than utilizing social media and or being loud behind a keyboard, they decided to take action. So I wanted to very briefly give everybody a roadmap on how I intend for us to move the conversation today. I will do some brief opening remarks. I will then hand it over to Emer and Alistair, who are joining us in Las Vegas from UNLV. And then we'll come back to Madeline, who will be doing a PowerPoint presentation and section-by-section breakdown. And then in case there are any technical questions, we brought our lifeline to just go over some additional topics or technicalities over language should those questions come in. And I'll have everybody introduce themselves in a second. But just very quickly, I am an attorney by trade, but I also teach part-time at UNLV's public policy program and the doctoral program. And I start the conversation there because, as you all know, unfortunately, UNLV was a victim of a tragedy, a mass shooting, that changed the entire landscape of what it meant to be a student or a teacher or a professor, a staff member, administrator, or anybody who has any type of connection with that university. In fact, I would say that anybody who is a teacher, a professor, a colleague, or administrator, or a student in the state of Nevada, I think all of us were shaken to our bones. And immediately after that, and I will not get into the details of it because I know that's specifically what Mr. Alistair and Emer will get into, folk were calling me, were reaching out to me, students, colleagues from Enchi, et cetera, et cetera. And the very first thing I heard, one of the very first things that happened, was that I had young students, Republicans and Democrats, working together, collaborating, and talking about what we can do about that situation. And unfortunately, we can't change what happened. But one of the things that we can do is take action. So the students got together, and the reason it's so important when you have Republicans and Democrats, young Republican and Democrats getting together, is because rather than the conversation starting in the polar opposites of where any type of conversation that involves guns starts, which is don't touch my guns or let's limit somebody's right to have guns. Instead of starting there, because you had a bipartisan effort, it started in the middle, saying, what is the problem? We have gun violence. How do we address that? And they had conversations about gangs, programs, better training, making sure that everybody is represented. Every single voice has every voice is at the table adequately being represented. And therein is the genesis of Senate Bill 156. Please note that we are working off of an amendment that we will walk you through. And the students needed help, and then they reached out to Make the Road Nevada, who said, we can absolutely help by being a voice up in the legislature, as they have folk here that are 24/7 and a presence constantly, because unfortunately, we know how difficult this building can be to access, particularly for students in the South who don't have all the tools or resources to be able to be present every single day. But the students have been leading the amendments, the students have been leading the bill, the students have been leading the work. And that is how we got to 156. I want to make it abundantly clear from the very onset, this bill is not meant to limit anyone's rights to have a weapon. In fact, I am a responsible gun owner. I have several. I look forward to teaching my son to hunt. I look forward to going out with my son and shooting. He is too young at this time, but I am ready for that. I am looking forward to that. I would never get in the way of somebody's right to be a responsible gun owner. At the same exact time, I've been working with youth programs my entire life, and I realize that if we don't invest in youth and we don't invest in programs at a young age, that we are sometimes not getting in the middle of these pipelines that sometimes lead kids to bad influences, lead kids to sometimes being involved with gangs, lead kids to not handling guns responsibly. That is also part of an obligation that we have as parents, as Nevadans, as people in this building. So putting all of that together is how we came together with this bill. And I want to remind everybody once again that the intent of this bill is to create a space where everyone, law enforcement, students, parents, responsible gun owners, folk who teach you how to handle a weapon, folk who understand youth programs, everybody's operating in a silo. And the reason we operate in silos is because if you agree with hunting, you have your group. And if you agree with trying to address mental health issues, you have your group. And if you agree with helping law enforcement get guns off of the wrong individual on the streets, they have one group. We want to create a hub where all of them are cooperating, working together with the current rules. And that whatever information comes from that they're sending it back to the legislature, and that we have reports on data, what's happening in our streets. That's ultimately the goal of this bill. With that, I'd like to hand over the presentation, Vice Chair, to Las Vegas.
Thank you very much, Chair Flores. Down in Las Vegas, thank you for being here to co-present Senate Bill 156. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Hello, my name's Alistair Dias. First name is spelled Allister. My last name is spelled Dias. Good afternoon to the chair and the members of the committee, and thank you again for taking up this bill. My name is Alistair Dias. I am currently a student at UNLV, majoring in economics with a dual minor in entrepreneurship and public policy. I am the current CSUN student body president, representing the interests of close to 27,000 undergraduates. I wish to acknowledge that my thoughts and opinions today are purely my own and not inherently reflective of CSUN or more broadly UNLV. On December 6, 2023, I was on the third floor of the Student Union. At the time, I was the editor-in-chief of our student newspaper, the Scarlet and Gray Free Press, formerly called the Rebel Yell. From our newspaper office window, I witnessed close to 60 students running across the parking lot and across Maryland Parkway. I stepped onto the balcony next to our office when I heard the gunshots ringing out. I knew in my gut that those were gunshots, but I didn't want to believe it. Instinctively, I ran back to my office. I grabbed my news editor who was with me, and we ran down the stairs and out of the front entrance of the student union. While coming out of the building, I heard another round of shots and the scene of police cars piling up in front of our campus. We ran across the street where we witnessed police break the doors and lead students out single file with their hands raised. We stayed trapped on the other side of Maryland Parkway for close to 9 hours that day. As a matter of fact, we didn't go home until late that night. Everything about that day is so vivid in my mind. I remember where I was, what I was doing, what I was wearing, who I spoke to, what I did that morning. and what I felt in that very moment. Although the shooting was close to 2 years ago from today, everything about that day still haunts me, and I intentionally avoid certain parts of campus since they remind me of what happened. Growing up in CCSD, we rehearsed active shooter drills in every grade level, with the premise that something like this would never happen to us, ever. December 6th changed all of that for me and all of my fellow peers here today. Gun violence is not a partisan issue, and it never should be. As a legal gun owner myself, there is so much room for education that unfortunately is not being promoted. I get the opportunity to speak and socialize with many right-leaning, widely pro-gun individuals when I go to the range to practice, who, as a matter of fact, have voiced the need for better protections of children in our schools and keeping guns out of the wrong hands. While what we hear in the news paints there to be two extremes on this topic, it goes to show that preventing gun violence is not a political issue, but it's a human one. It's one where both sides can come in the middle and unify. It's with this knowledge that we gather today not only to recount on the trauma that we here as UNLV students have experienced, but to transform that into a better chance for future generations. I'm hopeful that the pain that we experience today is something that current and future Nevadans, and more broadly Americans, never have to deal with again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dias, for telling us what happened, what you went through that day, and having to relive the trauma. Thank you. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Imer Cespedes Alvarado, IMER CESPEDESALVARADO. I am a registered Democrat, a student at UNLV, and the proud founder of Youth Voice of Nevada. On December 6, 2023, I was on the second floor of the Student Union hosting a political workshop with over 80 students, young people from different backgrounds, beliefs, and experiences, all coming together to talk about leadership, democracy, and the future we want to build. Around 11:30 a.m., the world around us changed. We heard screamings, students running, doors slamming, and then the chilling words, "There's an active shooter on campus, they're going to kill us." We shut the doors, turned off the lights, we hid. I called my parents and told them what I thought might be my last words. I love you. I dropped to my knees, praying, begging God to save us. I felt my most profound dream walking across that graduation stage as a first-generation college student vanishing right in front of me. After nearly an hour of silence, fear, and desperation, the SWAT team came in and evacuated us. And as we walked out, we passed the shooter body, a man who had just taken 3 innocents' lives, 3 people who deserve to be here today with us. They deserve more memories, more life. Gun violence is not an abstract issue, it's not a headline, it's not something that happens somewhere else. It happened to us, it happens to me, and it's happening too often. Gun violence is not a partisan issue. It's not red or blue. It's life or death. And it requires us to do more than just send thoughts and prayers. It demands actions. It demands leadership. It demands the courage to say enough is enough. That's why we're here today. Not just to share our pain, but to turn it into purpose. Because kids deserve a future of opportunity, not a future shaped by fear. Because students deserve to walk across graduation stages, not hide under desks. Because families deserve to celebrate milestones, not mourn loved ones taken too soon. Because safety in the school shouldn't be political, it should be the bare minimum. Because if we have the power to prevent the next tragedy, then we have the responsibility to act. Because if not now, when? And if not us, who? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cespedes Alvarado, for your powerful testimony. Thank you for reliving that traumatic day on the UNLV campus. Thank you so much. I'll come back to Carson City, Mr. Chair, and please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair and members of the Government Affairs Committee. For the record, my name is Madeline Krieger, spelled Krieger. I am proud to be part of the UNLV student community and present SB 156 along Alistair and Emer. Thank you both for your courage and sharing your experiences here today. I have heard the stories of too many people who continue to be impacted by the events of December 6th. When we do not fight for solutions together, we condemn their voices to obsolescence. In the past 20 years, there have been 6 mass shootings in Nevada. Gun violence, however, devastates our state even beyond these mass casualty events. Each year, an average of 581 people die as a result of gun-related injuries in Nevada. What this statistic fails to reflect are the countless people impacted and the communities fragmented when even a single person is hurt. Nevada's policy has been partially responsive to the 24% increase in gun deaths between 2014 and 2023. The implementation of background checks, bump stock and ghost gun bans, and extreme risk protection orders has been invaluable, but it is essential that we continue to expand the tools available to prevent future violence. Gun violence is a multidimensional issue that requires active mitigation efforts. SB 156 would establish a framework to provide resources and expand research through the creation of the Office for the Prevention of Gun Violence, or the OPGV. This bill seeks to end cycles of violence, not increase gun regulation or promote any efforts to do so. Sections 2 through 6 of this bill are definitional. Section 5 defines a resource bank as a repository of any resources relevant to Nevada gun violence. Section 6 clarifies that a state agency includes any unit of the executive department of the state government. Section 7 outlines structural organization for the OPGV, which would be created within the Office of the Attorney General. The proposed amendment to this section requires the Attorney General to appoint an ombudsman, not a director, to lead the OPGV. Replacing the role of the director allows us to minimize, if not completely eliminate, the fiscal note on this bill. An individual or team of individuals already within the Office of the Attorney General could serve as the ombudsman, avoiding additional employment fees. Section 8 outlines the 6 primary roles of the OPGV, which include advising the Attorney General on gun violence prevention, law efficacy, and barriers to public safety. The office would promote public awareness for gun laws, resources for mental health and substance use disorders, and safe gun ownership practices. Additionally, the OPGV would support gun violence prevention research and develop related programs, while offering assistance to other initiatives upon the Attorney General's request. Section 9 establishes regulations surrounding grant programs. The OPGV Ombudsman may develop grant programs to support community and culturally based initiatives seeking to stop cycles of gun violence. The conceptual amendment for this section would allow the Attorney General to set regulations for grant funding without requiring their involvement. This amendment provides further flexibility for the Office of the Attorney General, minimizing any fiscal burden. Any organization applying for grant funding would need to demonstrate compliance with requirements established by the Ombudsman or the Attorney General's office. The organization must also be able to prove its ability to effectively mitigate the impacts of gun violence without contributing to mass incarceration. Grant recipients would be required to complete regular evaluations proving the efficacy of funding applications as well. Section 10 requires the OPGV to create and regularly update a resource bank for any statistical information pertaining to gun violence. Section 11 allows the OPGV to use gifts or grants from any organization or individual to carry out the provisions of this bill. And finally, Section 12 specifies that the Attorney General must submit a report evaluating the OPGV's efficacy to the Director of the Legislative Council Bureau annually. This bill expands the conversation between our state's government and community-based gun violence prevention initiatives. I want to emphasize that this bill is not meant to target Second Amendment rights or provide an avenue for restricting firearm access. Its goal is to share information, provide resources, and break the cycles of violence affecting our constituents. SB 156 provides a way to learn and adapt alongside our communities with the advisory support of the OPGV. There are currently 15 states with an Office for the Prevention of Gun Violence or program with similar functions. Colorado was one of the first states to establish an OPGV in 2021 and has since allocated $450,000 towards gun violence prevention. The state has worked closely with community leaders, researchers, and public health professionals to develop a comprehensive framework for violence prevention. This partnership between experts and organizations is what we hope to replicate through SB 156. Different states have used their OPGVs for different functions, but we point to Colorado as an example of effective collaboration. SB 156 is essential to developing a comprehensive, proactive approach to gun violence prevention within our state. As a student, I strongly believe that research and public awareness efforts should be central to policy solutions. I urge you to stand in solidarity with us today as UNLV students and work towards ending cycles of gun violence. I'll turn the remainder of the presentation over to my co-presenters for questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair Flores, and thank you to all the excellent co-presenters. Thank you, Ms. Krieger. One thing I like about the amendment with the ombudsman, I know the Attorney General's office has currently an ombudsman on domestic violence issues, which tries, to help with informing the public and working to prevent domestic violence. So this seems in line with that and with the success they've had, I think, since 1997 with their ombudsman for domestic violence prevention. So hopefully that this passes, they'll have the same success in preventing gun violence with that position in the Attorney General's office. So thank you for bringing the bill on. I want to open it up for any questions, members of Chair Flores or his co-presenters. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. Thank you very much. Senator Krasner.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Senator Flores, for presenting this. I just have one question. It looks like it's Section 1, subsection 4B. Encourage the disaggregation of data relating to gun violence by race and ethnicity to improve the understanding of barriers to preventing gun violence. What does that look like to you, please?
Senator Edgar Flores, for the record. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, through you to Senator Krasner. Senator Krasner, if you could repeat just one more time, you said Section 1? And my apologies, I just want to get clarification.
Apologize. Section 8.
Section 8, subsection
4.
4.
B. I apologize.
Thank you, and we are looking at it as we speak alongside of you. 4. 4B. Thank you for that, Senator Edgar Flores, for the record. Thank you, Senator Krasner. We just want to have a general understanding of, is there a disproportional impact in certain communities? Is it happening at a certain age group? Is it happening with certain groups in certain areas? So that we have a better understanding of where to address these concerns and questions. I think oftentimes you'll hear conversations around irresponsible parents not adequately putting their guns away. Sometimes you'll hear conversations about issues with gangs. Sometimes you'll hear issues about individuals who have training, but maybe not the adequate training. Sometimes you'll hear questions saying, is it happening strictly in the rurals, inner cities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And if, for example, in these conversations, we're finding out that we're not adequately addressing these types of conversations, say, in communities that predominantly speak Spanish or Tagalog or Mandarin, or if that's an issue, should we need to know that, right? Are we doing these campaigns in the right languages? Are we doing campaigns that are targeted in the areas that things are happening? So the more data we can get, the clearer understanding we can have. Should we be working more closely with certain communities? Should we be bringing into this space communities from leaders that are leaders within specific communities? But we can't, right now, we move so much of this conversation in silos and then working off of perceived things that we believe are what's happening, right? And I've seen it happen even in this, not our particular committee, but we've had hearings related to guns in the past. And you'll hear some folk consistently bringing up gangs. And then the conversation ends there. And then you'll hear other folks consistently bringing up a specific type of firearm. And then the conversation ends there. And then you'll hear people specifically bringing up conversations around gun safety and training. And then the conversation ends there. And then you'll hear conversations about mental health. And I'm just going, and I can go on and on and on. So the more data we can get, the better understanding we can have what communities are being disproportionately impacted by gun violence. And so all of that request for data is to be able to start knowing that and having real concrete information that we can put back to the legislature. I think it's going to help the conversation move forward in 2 years if we have a better understanding of what that data looks like and unfortunately how it's disproportionately impacting one community over another, if at all.
And then if I just may, for
Please
the
go ahead.
record, my name is Noel Orozco. It's N-O-E, accent over the E, O-R-O-S-C-O, the Government Affairs Manager with Make the Road Nevada. Just adding on to what the senator had said, one of the things that it's also incentivizing to do, but it's not mandating, is having culturally competent and relevant information. And so going back to finding out, what are the communities that are being impacted. I know a couple years ago, Humboldt County had the highest gun death rate, and it was followed by Elko County and Nye County. And I know that Elko County, outside of Clark and Washoe, does have a significantly large Latino population, or population that identifies as Latino. And so when we're looking at just the urban cores, it's not just there, that if we were to be looking at the information and seeing like, oh, maybe there does need to be a little bit more education, but not necessarily only in English. I do recognize that, it's not requiring that, and depending on how the funds are available, but we have looked at other states, and there are a lot of educational campaigns that just depending on the makeup and how the states decide to kind of move forward with it, and with the funds that are available, that's part of why, we were looking to try to get that information, because we do recognize in the last decennial census, Nevada was ranked the third most diverse state in the country, which basically means if you were to pick two individuals at any given point in the state, the chances of them being of the same race or ethnicity or gender was going to pretty much be it was going to be very difficult to get them. So that was part of also the reason why we were looking to do that. Thank you.
Very much, Mr. Roscoe. Thank you, Chair Flores. Members, any additional questions? Senator Ellison.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I've got a couple questions. Number one, we talked about this the other day. We're both, concealed carry. We believe in gun safety just like everybody else, and taught my children gun safety and how to take care of the weapons and how to put them up and how to lock them up for when they have children. Well, they all have children. But it used to be in the schools, they used to teach, the NRA and other groups taught gun safety in the schools. Well, they took it out. That was one of the best training programs you could ever see. If you decide to go hunting, you'd get your permit to do there, but it was something they taught the kids about making sure that there's every gun's loaded until you make sure it's not. Stuff like this, and leave them alone, how to lock them up, how to put trigger guards on. There was so much information for these kids to learn by. Well, it's been taken out of school like a lot of the stuff. But that was my first one, and then I dropped down here to Section 8, number 1, arise from the Attorney General's office, a matter related to the prevention of gun violence. Why is it going to the AG's office? Why is it not going to the governor's office, or had the governor create a committee versus the Attorney General's office? Can you answer that one, then I'll go to the next one.
Thank you for that, Senator Edgar Flores, for the record. Through you, Vice Chair, to Senator Ellison. Thank you for that question. There's a couple of reasons. The offices of gun violence prevention that we see in the country are all relatively new. And they all have taken on different roles depending on the state. We see the Attorney General's office as the ultimate law enforcement, right? And we want to make sure that this office is held through that lens of ensuring that we have law enforcement involvement in these conversations, because we can't talk about gun violence prevention or safety without the arm of law enforcement being involved. So that was the number one reason. Number two, we foresee, or better said, not foresee, we see the AG's office is who's leading the charge in these conversations anytime there's suits coming up. And we wanted to make sure that in that arena, that we were hosting it in the place where those conversations were going to be happening anyway, right? And because of the relationship with law enforcement there, because they're tasked with protecting the state, because of that, it just seemed like it was the most natural fit, along with the fact that we've seen it housed there in other states. So I think it was a little bit of all that, Senator. And regarding to your first statement about the NRA or other organizations teaching gun safety, this will open the door for those conversations to happen again. Should we have a program that's teaching gun safety in schools? What does that look like? Is it effective? How much money should we put into that? Because there's the opportunity for them to have money donated. How do we want to see that money utilized? Is that something we should be considering? How effective was it in the past? Should we study that? All of those are conversations that we'll be having hopefully once we create this office.
A follow-up, Senator Ellison, although Mr. Orozco wanted to chime in, and then we'll go to your follow-up, Senator Ellison.
If I may, thank you so much. Noel Orozco for the record. Just really quickly wanted to add to the educational component. As I had mentioned, we were looking at several other states that have already implemented an Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Colorado was already one of the ones that was referenced. They do have a campaign right now. It's not only limited to the schools, but they are able to receive some of or apply for the grants. But specifically, the one that I was looking at, Wisconsin, in January of this year, they did allocate some funds, and they had granted to the school districts, to law enforcement agencies, as well as local governments. And so because that just happened, it really does depend on how the Office of Gun Violence Prevention decides to allocate and the requirements that they have for the applications. But we are seeing that there are already models there where they are able to have a process for providing grants and education specifically in schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Orozco. Senator Ellison had a follow-up?
Yes, thank you. Well, we didn't have the problems we have now that back then at all. I mean, because the kids wanted to hunt or wanted to the parents wanted them to have gun safety. We don't have the problems that we got now. The drive-by shootings or whatever, that was rare or not heard of when we were growing up. But the other one I had was Section 11, said the office to apply from received grants, contributions, other monies, private. And the problem I have fear of is when on your testimony was federal money, stuff like this. Problem is my fear about most stuff is political. And as we seen the other day in this body, we had 3 gun bills that was out there that violated the own laws they passed 4 years ago. So my biggest fear is political can destroy common sense sometimes. So maybe we can get together and we can talk about it or whatever, but I'm pro-gun because I believe that guns for several reasons. And guns don't kill people, people kill people. And the people that learn, the TVs are the biggest problem. There's so much stuff out there that we have to be aware of. And like I said, my children all learn how to shoot. They learn how to do everything they could do as far as gun safety. And they've done really well. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
Vice Chair, the only thing I'll say, I apologize to cut you off. Senator Edgar Flores for the record. Thank you, Senator Ellison. And I think we're in alignment because there isn't a person who doesn't disagree that we need to stop violence. And that's the word. that we're targeting, right? And I just want to make it abundantly clear that that is the objective, that is the agenda. That specific language that's there is to allow us to sidestep the fiscal notes that would be created otherwise. Because if the state is on the hook to allocate that money, we put the state in a difficult position. But if we create a program where we can bring in private entities to donate money to them so that they can address this issue collectively. And, you know, we see this as nonprofits, law enforcement. Everybody has a third arm, right? A 501c3. Almost every single kind of important player in the state of Nevada has one of those. So we see them collectively coming together and saying, we want to address these issues. We're scared. We need to do more. And that we can all start putting money into that pot initially. Once we can prove that this is a working model, that we're bringing good data, that we are in fact being bipartisan, that we are addressing and helping everybody come to the table, then we have a much easier pitch in a few years to come to the state, say, look, we're all working collaboratively. We are achieving the objective. Now let's get some buy-in. But this is just to open the door to create the office and then let them prove themselves that it's effective and that it's working.
Thank you very much, Chair Flores. Members, any additional questions? Senator Rogich.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Thank you for bringing this topic to light. Will you be also focusing on how many prosecutions are, how many mandatory prosecutions are brought with regard to individuals that are not supposed to be possessing guns or try to possess guns?
Senator Edgar Flores, for the record, thank you, Senator Rogich, for that question. Ultimately, the agenda is everything, right? How many people are we arresting? How are they getting these weapons? Why are they getting them? Who's providing them? What areas are mostly impacted by it? It's a holistic approach to the conversation so that we have actual, again, and I'm not minimizing the data we have now and or minimizing the information we have now, but depending on what group we ask, it's so heavily handed and focused in one direction that I don't think we've had an opportunity to sit down and really put it all in one big, I'm not oversimplifying, but one big Excel sheet so that we can really dissect that data and as legislators make informed decisions, all of us working off of the same information and get away from what Senator Ellison alluded to, which is the political agenda, which so often happens, right? You're sitting on the dais, you got one group suggesting one side, another group suggesting the other. And what we're saying is let's just cut that out and go right to the middle and bring all the stakeholders in a centralized place.
A follow-up, Senator Rogich.
Thank you for that explanation. I guess what I'm trying to look for is if we're going to also have data revealing how many of the charges have been dropped. So individuals that should have been prosecuted are actually downgraded and let go. Is that going to be addressed?
Senator Edgar Flores, for the record, thank you, Senator Rogich, for that question. I don't know that we have that specific language, but we're also we're not tying the hands of the office in looking at that or going well beyond that. The idea is for them to be able to look at all data, convictions, charges, anything that they want to, that will formulate a real picture of what is happening in the state of Nevada. That I just don't think any one organization or agency or entity has been able to do that yet. And should we be focusing more on mental health versus training versus getting weapons off the street that are out there in the legal black market? Whatever that looks like, we want them to be able to have the ability to really go in and identify that for us so that we can get that information, make decisions. And it won't just involve weapons. It's going to help us in a lot of different ways, but we need the data to first come in so that we can do that.
Thank you very much, Chair Flores. Any additional questions, members? No. Thank you very much for your presentation here in Carson City and to the UNLV students down in Las Vegas. Thank you very much. I'd like to now open it up for support of Senate Bill 156. Start here in Carson City and then go down to Las Vegas, and we are allotting 30 minutes for support and 30 minutes for opposition and 30 minutes for neutral testimony. So whoever would like to begin, I'll start here in Carson City, then we'll go down to Las Vegas. We'll try to keep going back and forth. Please state your name for the record and proceed, and it is 2 minutes per speaker.
Good afternoon, Chair. Thank you. For the record, my name is Pio Rejas, P-I-O space R-E-J-A-S, and as I represent myself as a student of UNLV, a College of Liberal Arts senator, and a member of the Youth Voice of Nevada, I'm here today in support of SB 156, which will establish the Office of Gun Violence Prevention in Nevada. Whether you think this bill is necessary or not, whether you see it as an important step forward or a waste of taxpayer money, I encourage you to ask yourself, how many members of our community have to pass away before we take action? How many lives must we lose before we recognize that gun violence is not just a statistic, but a reality that affects our families, our schools, and our sense of safety? Let me be clear, this bill is not about restricting the Second Amendment. This is not about taking away anyone's right to bear arms. SB 156 does not seek to control lawful gun ownership. This is about prevention. It is about saving lives. It is about identifying patterns, investing in community safety, and stopping tragedies before they happen. It is about recognizing that our state has a duty to protect its residents. I still remember when the unfortunate incident happened at UNLV on December 6th. Back then, I was serving as a student body president at the College of Southern Nevada. I remember how the campus emptied when the message started getting into our phones. I remember the fear that settled in, and I remember how the Nevada system of higher education as a whole was shaken. How students at UNLV, at CSN, and NSU, and every other institution had to deal with the trauma. Some never returned, some dropped out, some lost their sense of security in a place that should be a foundation for their future. And again, this is just not only about policy debate. This is about lives. This is about ensuring that no student, no teacher, no family in Nevada has to experience this kind of loss again. I believe SB 156 is a step in the right direction, and I plead you to pass it. Not when it's too late, not after another tragedy, but now, while we still have the chance to prevent the next one. Thank you for your time.
For your testimony, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair. My name is Alfredo Munoz. That is ALFREDVIVARMUNOZ, a UNLV student, and I am honored to address you today as the co-lead of Nevada Youth Activist Alliance and the Vice President of Youth Voice of Nevada. I stand before you and urge you the passage for SB 156, a critical step towards addressing the devastating gun violence pandemic plaguing our state. Like far too many Nevadans, I experienced the terror of gun violence firsthand. On December 6, 2023, I attended a political advocacy event at UNLV, hoping to deepen my engagement in civic life. Instead, that day left me with lasting trauma. An active shooter lockdown was announced. Lights were turned off and the doors were barricaded. I found myself praying, huddled near the emergency exit, searching for any chance of escape. Time stretched endlessly until the emergency door, which I found solace in, cracked open, and a gun was pointed at me. I couldn't tell if it was a police officer or the shooter. Due to a flashlight, my mind went blank with fear. I recognized the S from SWAT team, and the fears finally went away. We were escorted out of the student union, and all I could do was thank God for my survival. But I still vividly remember the gun. I continue to pray daily for my safety and the safety of those around me, but thoughts and prayers alone are sometimes insufficient. Action is why I stand here. I also want to emphasize that SB 156 has been carefully crafted to respect the Second Amendment right to bear arms. As a firm believer in this liberty, I support this bill because it strikes a balance preserving constitutional right while taking meaningful steps to prevent further escalation of gun violence in Nevada. Finally, I ask you to listen to the voices of the next generation. We are the ones who are inheriting this issue, and we are exhausted. That exhaustion has driven us here, demanding action. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing what you went through. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Senators. My name is Millen Gledhill, MILLANGLEDHILL. I go by Mac. and I'm here today as the president of Youth Voice of Nevada and the co-lead of the Nevada Youth Activist Alliance. And I am a current senior at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. I am 24 years old, born in December of 2000. This means that my starting point in this country was about a year and a half after the Columbine High School shooting in Colorado in April 20th, 1999. For me and other young people my age, tragedies like this are not a shocking surprise, but a normal everyday occurrence. I started elementary school with the Virginia Tech massacre and ended it with Sandy Hook and the Aurora movie theater shooting. In high school, I was living out of state and had to be sat down by a teacher to let me know that the Route 91 Festival Las Vegas shooting had occurred the night before and that I should call my family. At my first movie theater job as a teenager, I had to be trained on bomb threats and active shooters just as much as buttering the popcorn. I worked there during the premiere of The Joker and actually had a situation where someone reported a suspicious man in the auditorium. This was the first time that I feared I would be a victim of gun violence. The next time was less than 5 years later, on December 6, 2023. I sat in a dark room as police messages buzzed on my phone, telling me to run, to hide, and to fight because an armed assailant was attacking UNLV's campus. One of these messages eventually told us that shots were fired into the student union, the building where I was hiding. I had to face the reality that I may not make it back from school that day. Thankfully, I was evacuated by SWAT, but I will never forget the shooter's dead body feet away from me as we were making our way to safety. There are smart, effective, bipartisan solutions to this issue, and that is why I encourage you to support SB 156, because I believe that this is a step in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I'd like to go down to Las Vegas, and then I'll come back up here to Carson City. Thanks for your patience. Down in Las Vegas, whoever would like to begin, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Vice Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Sue Birch, SUEBURTCH. I am the Executive Director of the Nevada chapter of the National Organization for Women. We thank Senator Flores for bringing SB 156 to the table. It's an important conversation, and we strongly support any bill that moves gun violence prevention forward. It's an important conversation to have. On a personal note, my youngest is a grad student at UNLV and was in building FDH, which is right next door to the student union, on that day in December 6th. What makes it unusual is this is the second time this child of mine has been on a campus with an active shooter. So on a personal note, please, let's start this important conversation about gun violence prevention. It is nonpartisan. Let's help these kids. Thank you.
Thanks for your testimony.
Thank you, Vice Chair and members of the committee. My name is Kevin Osorio Hernandez, and I am the chair of the Nevada Student Alliance with the unique privilege of representing over 110,000 students across the Nevada system of higher education. I'm also the proud president of the student body at Nevada State University, and I'm actually your constituent, Senator Orenshaw. The Nevada Student Alliance is the overarching student organization within the Nevada system of higher education, and we have formally adopted legislative priorities that focus on campus safety and wellness, including the prevention of gun violence. After December 6th, the Nevada Student Alliance passed a resolution urging the Nevada system of higher education to establish a standing committee on safety and to prioritize the well-being of students in Nevada. As chair of the NSA, I know firsthand that our students have been deeply affected by the threat and the reality of gun violence. And I just want to highlight for a moment the vulnerability of our students here. I believe very strongly that vulnerability is, of course, our superpower. And I really want to emphasize that our students need to feel safe on our campuses. And SB 156 is a vital step towards addressing those concerns by creating, of course, the office that will prioritize the safety, security, and overall well-being of students across Nevada. So thank you for your time, and I urge the committee to support SB 156.
Thank you very much for your testimony.
My name is Malcolm Greer, and I'm a UNLV student majoring in political science. And I'm a volunteer with Students Demand Action and a member of the Youth Voice of Nevada. I'm testifying in support of SB 156, On December 6, 2013, I survived a shooting at UNLV that claimed 3 lives and injured many others. The fear and grief I experienced drive home the need for change. SB 156 would create an Office of Gun Violence Prevention within the Attorney General's office to research, educate, and implement gun violence prevention strategies without infringing on Second Amendment rights. We must act now to prevent these tragedies. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. I'd like to come back to Carson City. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Hello, Vice Chair and members of the committee. My name is Cindy Mitchell, and I'm a third-year political science student at UNLV. I want to thank Chair Flores for bringing SB 156 forward, as myself and thousands of other UNLV students have been waiting for a legislative response to December 6, 2023. My memory often fails me, but I don't think I will ever fail to recall December 6th. I went to my 11:30 class on the second floor of the Lee Business Building, naive to what would happen on the floors above me 15 minutes later. We were reviewing our final exam when we heard these strange loud bangs, and I've never heard a gunshot before in real life, but the pit in my stomach told me it was. We decided to lock the door, and soon alarms were blaring, and campus police reported there was a shooter in my building. I was losing my mind because I didn't have my phone on me. A classmate let me borrow theirs, and after sending the I love you text no kid should ever have to send, and no parent should ever have to receive, we sat quietly crying, shaking, and filled with the inexplicable fear of not knowing if we'll ever get to leave this building. And during the terror, we saw through the shades of the window facing the hallway the shooter walking around after he stopped fire. But we didn't know that he decided he was done. We believed we were next, and we were preparing to die. After being escorted out of the building and hours of sitting on the side of the road with my classmates trying to grapple the trauma and gravity of what just happened, I was able to finally feel the security of my family once again. The rest of that week, I was simply numb. All of UNLV was. We tragically lost 3 incredible professors that day. UNLV will never forget Jerry Chang, Patricia Navarro-Velez, and Naoko Takamaru. I am one of thousands of UNLV students in Nevada now traumatized by gun violence. This isn't a pain that can be relieved by time. I find myself reliving that terrifying day quite often. UNLV as a community came in together in a way that it never had before to mourn our lost professors and to support each other through such heavy times. But no university students should have to be trauma bonded because of gun violence. SB 156 can be the beginning of productive work to protect Nevada citizens without threatening the Second Amendment, and because of that, I'm in full support of SB 156. Thank you.
Thanks very much for your testimony. Anyone else in Carson City in support of the bill? Okay, not seeing anyone else come forward, I'd like to go down to Las Vegas. Whoever would like to begin, please state your name for the record and proceed. And we are limiting witnesses to 2 minutes per person.
Hello, my name is Al Rojas. I live in Assembly District 12. I think this is a fantastic bill. I love the way Senator Flores used the word public awareness campaigns. I'd love to see this at many of the gun shows. And I can tell you, as a staunch conservative who listens to a lot of conservative radio and a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, I don't see any restrictions in this bill to anybody who wants to support the Second Amendment. Responsible gun use is important, and we have to educate as many people, and I am so glad to see that we have a lot of young people involved. It's going to create a whole new generation of responsible gun owners. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony.
For the record, my name is Hernan Alvarez Sanchez, HERNANALVAREZ SANCHEZ. I am the Deputy Organizing Director for Make the Road Nevada, but I am also a U.S. Army veteran. I served in the Army Infantry for a few years, and I urge this committee to support SB 156. As was previously stated, I also don't see, and as a strong Second Amendment supporter, I don't see any restrictions on the ability to access firearms through this bill. I want to make a quick anecdote because some comments were made that I think are important to talk about. I think it is important for folks to understand how to safely operate weapon systems. This helps eliminate any unnecessary deaths from accidental shootings or anything like that, somebody accidentally shooting themselves. But this isn't necessarily what this bill is trying to do. This bill is trying to research the cause for gun violence, and some of those deaths that they're looking into is homicide and suicide. And I just wanted to, again, like I said, make this anecdote. When I was serving in the Army, I had a few brothers who I got very close to and who are no longer here because they killed themselves. Veterans tend to kill themselves at higher rates than other groups of people. If, like I said, if knowing how to operate a weapon system were to prevent all gun violence, then my brother who shot himself in the head after just a month prior, giving his wife giving birth to twins, that wouldn't have happened because, I mean, he's a professional operator of weapon systems. So again, it does have its place, but what this bill is trying to do is, again, research the causes of gun violence and possibly creating solutions towards them. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chairs, and members of the committee. My name is Sharon Flores, spelled SharonFlores, and I'm a student at the University of Las Vegas, Nevada, UNLV, which is my opinion and not reflective of UNLV. I'm here today to express my support for Senate Bill 156, which would establish the Office of Gun Violence Prevention in Nevada. Gun violence has personally affected my family when on December 6, 2023, I found myself seeking shelter in a small storage closet along with 14 other individuals, unable to contact our families due to the lack of signal at UNLV. In the rush to the escape, many of us didn't have the space to think about grabbing our belongings. With the few phones available and weak signal, students and staff were urged to call their loved ones to say their goodbyes or to check with friends to make sure they were alive and somewhere safe on campus. All I could do was come to terms with the idea that December 6th might be my last day. Just like my peers, I called my family too and told them I loved them for what I felt would be my last time. As I escorted off campus by officers, all I could see were broken windows, tables, chairs thrown, and complete chaos. Things that earlier in that day had been part of a fun and engagement event where students like children played with Legos and ate waffles. While I imagined the worst, the only thing I could do was pray that no student had lost their life. But after time passed, I learned that UNLV professors had tragically passed away. It took months of seeking psychological support to cope with panic attacks and trauma that came with sights of sirens, fireworks, and helicopters, which only made me relive that day. No individual or family deserves to go through the trauma that comes from experiencing gun violence, for which I urge the committee to pass Senate Bill 156 and take meaningful action to prevent gun violence in Nevada. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thanks for your testimony. Please begin, whoever's next. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Kelechi Odunze, spelled K-E-L-E-C-H-I, last name O-D-U-N-Z-E, and I am a student at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. This is an opinion for myself. On no means do I speak for the university itself. And the reason I am here before you today is to express my support for SB 156, to establish an Office of Gun Violence Prevention in Nevada. Gun violence is a nationwide epidemic that not only affects students all over the world, but especially our students here in Nevada. As a graduate student of the Clark County School District, I've experienced numerous drills, lockdowns, and other situations regarding gun violence. In my junior year of high school at Desert Oasis, we experienced a 2-day lockdown due to a firearm being present on campus. Also, in my junior year of high school, in attendance at a high school football game, a gun was also fired in the parking lot of my campus. Gun violence has been, unfortunately, an inevitable and an inescapable part of my journey through education. My very first semester at UNLV on December 6, 2023, our university faced its own crisis. On December 6, I was organizing a study event on the UNLV campus when an unexpected and terrifying series of events unfolded. What began as an event for students to take a break for themselves during the busy study season quickly spiraled into chaos and panic. I found myself packed hiding in a closet on the 3rd floor of the SU for hours with Sharon and 13 others, while my family anxiously awaited for my safety. The fear and uncertainty of that day, coupled with the reports of multiple fatalities, left me emotionally shaken and profoundly affected. When it was finally time to exit the closet, we didn't even want to leave. We didn't know who was at the door, and the SWAT team had to eventually open the door for us. When we finally did leave, what our university was left with was broken doors, glass, and hearts. We lost 3 incredible and caring professors that day to gun violence. Though I'm incredibly grateful to have survived and been reunited with my family, those 3 professors were not as fortunate. This tragic incident, one that could have been avoided with better safety measures and preventative actions, has driven my fellow students and I to advocate for change.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We are at 2 minutes, so if you could wrap up your comments, and thank you.
Yes. Gun violence is an epidemic that affects countless communities, and I believe it's crucial for Nevada to take decisive action. Thank you for considering this crucial initiative, and I look forward to seeing Nevada take meaningful action to protect its citizens. Thank you.
Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, community members. My name is Arayah Ratain, spelled Aryah, last name Certain, and I'm a proud born and raised Las Vegas local and a student at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, studying information systems and finance with a minor in entrepreneurship. I'm here today not just as a student or a constituent, but as someone who was directly impacted by the shooting at the Lee Business School. I had class in the building on the 2nd floor. I remember the chaos, the run and fight text, the fear, the running, the screaming, seeing what felt like hundreds of police cars, and the helplessness of not knowing if I or my classmates were next. That moment changed me, and it changed how I view the urgency of gun violence prevention. No amount of gun drills in high school could have prepared me for this. And as you can see, it changed the lives of multiple people standing behind me in line to talk about this. To reiterate some vital statistics, Nevada currently holds the 15th highest gun death rate in the nation, and on average we lose over 580 lives every year to gun violence, more than half from suicide and nearly a third from homicide. These are not just numbers. These are classmates, neighbors, family members, and friends. And we can't keep acting like this is normal. We've had 6 mass shootings in the past few years. That's why I stand in strong support of the Senate bill. SB 156 proposes something that Nevada desperately needs, the creation of the OPGV. This office would do more than just research statistics. It would lead real, coordinated action. It would advise lawmakers, educate the public, and create outreach in ways that are culturally competent and community-driven. Through regular evaluation and community input, it keeps our voices at the center. For me, this is personal. When you've been on campus calling hundreds of people, wondering if your friends have lived, being overcome with relief when they answered, and filled with utter despair when they did not, policy stops becoming abstract. It becomes urgent, it becomes necessary, and I refuse to accept that we can't do more. I view supporting this bill as supporting my classmates, supporting my community, and supporting a safer Nevada. Thank you.
Thanks for your testimony. Please go ahead, whoever would like to go next. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Sayla Daly, spelled Sayla, last name Daily, and I am a 3rd-year student at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Today, I'm speaking in support of Bill 156 as someone who has experienced the very real and terrifying impact of increasing gun violence, not only in our state, but in our country. This bill will ultimately create the Office of Prevention for Gun Violence under the Attorney General. This is a step that will ultimately give the state a dedicated entity focused on education, prevention, data collection, and community-centered solutions by supporting public awareness, culturally aware and competent outreach, and local grant programs. SB 156 prioritizes both safety and justice. It focuses not on punishment, but prevention, collaboration, and healing. As a student at UNLV, on December 6, 2023, a shooting took place at our school, something that no student, professor, or anyone should have to endure. As someone who was on campus at the time of this incident, along with the thousands of others who were present, the fear and trauma still linger today. Even prior to experiencing this incident, I have always had a lingering fear about experiencing a mass shooting, especially with the increasing numbers of them across the country. I remember seeing the chaos, fear, and feeling of dread with concern for myself, classmates, friends, faculty, and much more. During this time, I stayed in my room for nearly 10 hours before the SWAT team knocked door to door through our residence halls. It was a moment that shook our entire campus and made how clear and urgent these solutions are. Our communities, especially our students, deserve to feel safe, to be informed and to have the tools to prevent tragedies before they happen. Student, sorry, SB 156 is an imperative need for Nevada's future, but it is one step towards gun violence prevention across the country as well. Thank you to those in support today and the co-sponsors for bringing this bill forward, and thank you to the committee for your time and thoughtful consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Leslie Paredes. That is spelled Leslie-Paredes. I am a student at the College of Southern Nevada High School, a proud member of the Make the Road Nevada, and I am the co-president of the College Dems at CSN. I've lived in Nevada my whole life, and I am here in support of SB 156 because as a college student from a low-income neighborhood, I have seen firsthand how gun violence deeply impacts students like me. In high school, we practice lockdown drills more often than we prepare for our futures. In college, I plan my walk to class based on lighting, not just distance. I've had professors pause class to address threats made on campus. I lost my best friend to gun violence before they ever had the chance to walk across the graduation stage. Their dreams ended before they truly began. I want to become an attorney one day because I believe in justice, but I also believe we can't have justice if we don't have safety. Please support SB 156, as we deserve to learn, to live, and to dream without fear. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Senators. My name is Nathaniel Adam, Natenaile space ADEM. I am a student at UNLV and a member of the wider UNLV community, and December 6th was a tragedy that affected us all. 3 of our professors were tragically killed in their place of work: Professor Patricia Navarro-Velez, Jerry Chang, and Naoko Takamaru. Gun violence has no place in our community, and this has to stop. SB 156 seeks to build an office for the prevention of gun violence so that December 6th never happens again. It will allow us to point a scientific lens to what is a growing health issue in our state. And this office will research and study the causes of gun violence in our state and find solutions to this deadly problem. It's for these reasons that I urge the committee to pass SB 156 and protect Nevada from further acts of gun violence like this. Thank you for your consideration and your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next in Las Vegas, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Hiromi Peña Martinez, JIROMI PENA MARTINEZ, and I am here to share my experience as a survivor of the December 6, 2023 shooting at UNLV, and to urge lawmakers to pass SB 156. That day, my friends and I hid across campus as a gunman opened fire. We were flooded with fear and confusion, unsure if we would make it out safely. Misinformation spread quickly. Some reports exaggerated the number of injuries, while others downplayed the reality of what was happening. No student should ever have to experience that level of terror. Since that day, the trauma has not faded. Loud noises, doors opening and closing, even the sound of a timer ticking can trigger overwhelming fear. Many of my friends are still scared to return to campus, and the anxiety we carry affects every part of our lives. Gun violence has become too common in Nevada, and we cannot afford to wait any longer to take real action. That's why SB 156 is so critical. This bill would create an Office of Gun Violence Prevention within the Attorney General's office, making Nevada the 13th state to take this necessary step. This office would provide data-driven solutions to prevent tragedies like the one we endured. We need research-based policies, stronger protection for students, and real investments in preventing gun violence, not just reactive measures after another tragedy strikes. Passing SB 156 is a step toward making our schools and campuses safer for everyone. To lawmakers, I ask, how many more students have to live in fear before we take action? How many more lives need to be lost before we prioritize real solutions? Gun violence is a crisis, and we need to take action now. And I urge you to pass SB 156 and help protect students, families, and communities from the trauma and devastation that gun violence leaves behind. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Hello, Vice Chair and members of the committee. My name is Lahana Pierce, and I serve as a student body vice president at Nevada State University. I am here today to express my strong support for SB 156, a bill that takes important action to address gun violence while respecting the Second Amendment. As a student, safety is a constant concern. We come to college to learn and grow, but the fear of gun violence affects us every day, whether it's in classrooms or walking across a campus at night. SB 156 offers a practical approach to prevention while ensuring that responsible gun owners' rights are respected. I urge you to support SB 156, not just for our campuses, but for the safety of all communities across Nevada. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much. And in an effort to be fair to all sides, we allotted 30 minutes for support, and then 30 minutes for opposition, 30 minutes for neutral if there's not enough testimony. I'd like to take one more speaker one more speaker down in Las Vegas. Then I'm going to go to opposition, and everybody who's in support in Las Vegas and on the phone lines, I would ask if you could be patient. And then once we get to opposition neutral, I will try to come back and make sure that everybody else who's in support gets a chance to testify. So I'd like to take one more speaker in Las Vegas, then I'll go to opposition for 30 minutes, then neutral for 30 minutes, and then we'll come back, and I do have to ask everyone to be patient, either on the phone lines or down in Las Vegas. So please state your name for the record and proceed. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and the members of the Senate Committee. My name is Jay Hicks, Jayhicks. I'm a student at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas as a journalism major and a minor in public policy. Born and raised in Las Vegas area, I am the president and on-air host of the over-the-air college radio station K1V 91.5 HD2 The Beat, but also representative and member of the Youth Voice Nevada. I've been summoned by the founder of comment to SB 156. Given the background on me, I can say that I'm a victim of gun violence myself. When growing up, I have been in 4 instances of gun-related violence, one 2008, 2019, 2022, and unfortunately December 6, 2023 in my first year of college. To keep it short, I do want to say that I am a believer of the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, and also federal laws in the state to open carry and the rights to protect yourself on your personal property in case of intrusion. But I do believe there should be a stronger protection laws at SB 156 to gun owners to be responsible and teach people not to use guns for their malicious intent to protect anyone else from being killed by the bullet of the gun. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your testimony. And again, anyone left over who wants to testify in support, I would ask you to please be patient, either in Las Vegas or on the phone lines. If you're not able to hang on till we get to opposition and neutral, to everybody, we are also taking comments. If anyone wants to send it through email to our committee secretary or through regular mail, you can submit comments in writing. But I will try to get back and make sure everybody has a chance to speak. So with that, I'd like to now go to opposition to Senate Bill 156, and I'm going to go for 30 minutes in opposition. I'd like to start here in Carson City with opposition testimony, then I'll go down to Las Vegas, then the phone lines, and so we're going to have 30 minutes, and then we'll go to neutral, and then we'll try to make sure everybody gets a chance to speak. Thank you for your patience this evening. Whoever would like to begin, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Janine Hansen. I'm the state chairman of the Independent American Party. I do not believe, after a lifetime of political activity, that the government is capable of not having a political agenda. I would say that on page 3, line 27 of this bill, it talks about professors and researchers identifying new data and research. I want to talk about that. But first, I would say that it's very unfortunate what happened at UNLV. And I think one of the reasons it happened was because it's a gun-free zone where people who are of malintent know and target gun-free zones. Dr. John Lott, who wrote the book More Guns, Less Crime, after much research, says this in a new article in March 2025. Civilians stop more active shooters than police do, and with fewer mistakes. According to new research from the Crime Prevention Research Center, in non-gun-free zones where civilians are legally able to carry guns, concealed carry permit holders stopped 51% of active shooters, compared to 44.6% stopped by police. Not only do permit holders succeed in stopping active shooters at a higher rate, but law enforcement officers face significantly greater risks when intervening. Our research found police were nearly 6 times more likely to be killed and 17 times more likely to be wounded than armed civilians. Those numbers paint a fuller picture than the FBI crime statistics, which fail to take into account defensive gun strategies. From 2014 to 2023, researchers found that armed civilians stopped 180 of 515 active shooting cases, and of the attacks in places where people were allowed to carry, we found that permit holders stopped 158 of 307 instances. We know what the research says, that people who carry guns can stop crime. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed here in Carson City.
Members of the committee, my name is Keely Hopkins, and I'm the State Director for the National Rifle Association, here today in opposition to the bill. Proponents state the purpose of this new office is to develop strategies to prevent and address gun violence in Nevada. While the stated goal of addressing violence in our communities is a worthy cause and one that we share, the reality is this will become a taxpayer-funded office that is used to push anti-gun policies and initiatives, as we have seen in other states. I appreciate the sponsor stating that he wants this office to be a place for collaborative discussion, but unfortunately that hasn't been the case in other states with similar offices. What we have seen, however, is the establishment of dedicated positions within state government for gun control activists to use public funds to pursue their agendas. And if established here, it would require every taxpayer in Nevada to be a mandatory contributor to that cause. There has been a lot of testimony today about starting a collaborative conversation to find solutions to violence. So let's do that. But it doesn't require establishing a new office that will likely be weaponized for political purposes. We encourage your opposition.
Thanks for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, committee. For the record, Thomas Morley, THOMASMORLEY, representing the Nevada Firearms Coalition. We have sent in an email on our position, and I'd like to echo what Keely said as far as their position. And we are in opposition. We feel that this is an infringement or an approaching infringement on the Second Amendment. Thank you.
Thanks for your testimony. Please state your name for the record and proceed.
Tanya Freeman, TANYAFREEMAN. As Senator Ellison has stated, when I was in high school and elementary school, we did have gun safety classes. We were taught how to handle a firearm, safely store it, load it, and unload it. I don't believe that this bill is going to do any prevention of gun violence. I think its research projects are fine, but I don't believe that having another state agency to prevent gun violence is going to do anything. We have organizations such as the Pink Pistols, which is an education. I also see that the bill has left out other vulnerable people in the community. The USCCA also teaches gun safety, and I will make these available to the good senator so he can look at them, and if he wants to. I objected this bill because I agree with the others that this could be weaponized against gun owners. We need to teach gun safety. We need to teach people. And to say this, I was in Columbine. I was living in Colorado, not far from that school. And I understand the need to have something done with gun violence. It has to stop. But this agency, I don't believe, is the one for it.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Anyone else here in Carson City who wishes to be heard in opposition to Senate Bill 156? Okay, not seeing anyone come forward, I'd like to go down to Las Vegas. Anyone in opposition, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Matthew Yealy, Michael Alpha Tango Tango Hotel Echo Whiskey, Yankee Echo Alpha Lima Yankee, Las Vegas native, born and raised. I work for one of the oldest gun shops in town. I'm not representing them. I'm representing myself and my son, who is 12 years old. This is an office that is being created for the Attorney General's office, which is odd that it wouldn't go to the governor's office, who would disseminate the information better. There's a lot of things that I see in this bill that are not emotional. The things that I am concerned with is it doesn't show a formula for how this info is disseminated to determine what programs would be created. One of the other representatives brought up about the potential for abuse for subsection 11 about can receive gifts, grants, contributions, and other money from governmental and private agencies. We've seen that for other organizations coming in and spending a lot of money to try and buy their agendas in here. This is a weaponized section that I would strongly suggest gets removed. I see references to professors and researchers, but it doesn't say who they are or what their backgrounds are, so this could be weaponized as well. I don't see anybody from the gun industry talking about being on here at all. There's another section that where it talks about relating to mental health and substance use disorders, how to refer. How is that having to do anything with with gun violence prevention? That seems like something that would be thrown in here just to make it feel better. If this bill does pass and this organization is created and it doesn't really do anything to stem the gun violence prevention issue, does this sunset? Because I'd hate to see wasted taxpayer money going to something that is trying to prevent an issue where the real solution is education in the schools, education to firearm owners, and to enforce the laws that we have on the books to prevent it. The other thing that I would say on a more personal note is I've heard a lot of testimony tonight invoking December 6th as well as other events.
Mr. Healy, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We are at 2 minutes. If you could wrap up your comments.
Sure. This is a poorly written bill to try and establish a weaponized form of government. To do it, I would strongly suggest that you don't pass this in its current written form and to amend it to be more concise if it was going to pass. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in Las Vegas who wishes to speak in opposition to Senate Bill 156? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone come forward. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the phone lines who wishes to speak in opposition to Senate Bill 156? We are taking testimony in opposition, 2 minutes per speaker.
If you would like to testify in opposition of Senate Bill 156, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hi, my name is Katrina Ivanov, IVANO Frank Frank. My heart goes out to all the victims, the ones that survived and the ones that did not, and to their families. I had a very good friend of mine when the day that UNLV happened, so it did affect me personally as well. However, more government agencies, more money thrown at a problem would not solve the problem. And I find it very interesting that the same side that is talking about less police, defund the police, are the same side that are pretending to try to prevent violence, because to me, that's just a political game that you guys are playing. This bill does nothing, any bill does nothing to solve violence. Whoever wants to be violent is violent. That's why we have jails. We had the laws. Those people chose to break the laws regardless. We need more education at early age. Kids at 5 years old, 100 years ago, used to know how to shoot and when to shoot and to respect the guns and to know what it, and they have respect. We also need to educate our young people to respect life, to respect elderly. They need to be taught all around, not just one or another. It's a bigger problem, and the bill is when intended, but it's not doing what it says it's gonna do. In my experience with politics, it's not very long, but from what I can experience, every time you name a bill or present something, I know it's gonna do the opposite of what you say you want it to do.
Ms.
Or
Ivanov, I'm
present it
sorry to
to
interrupt
people
you.
that
We are
don't.
at 2 minutes. If you could wrap up your comments.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you guys are thinking about things, but this is not the solution. Please vote no, and let's sit down and think of real solutions.
Good evening. This is Lynn Chapman, LYNNCHAPMAN. I'm with Nevada Families for Freedom. Dr. John Lott said, quote, non-shooting mass murderers don't get the attention that mass murderers with guns obtain, unquote. Creating an office just for gun violence doesn't seem to be the best way to spend the money. Mass killings have been happening for years and not always with guns. Quote, more than a dozen high-profile vehicle attacks on crowds have taken place in recent years, unquote. Holly Yan from CNN, January 5th, 2025. She stated this right after the New Orleans attack of January 1st, 2025. She was referring to the New Orleans attack, which happened a few weeks after the attack on December 2024 in Germany. And of course, we remember the vehicle bomb in Las Vegas as well. May 2023 in New York, a 15-year-old girl murdered 19 people. She set fire to a school dorm because the school took her phone away. Violence comes in all shapes and sizes and for many different reasons. Public awareness campaigns, education, classes for individuals and families are fine, but make them to fit all the different ways of violent actions against others. Guns don't cause violence, people do. Vote no on SB 156. Thank you.
Hi, Yolanda Canuck, Yolanda, last name Knaak. I'm representing myself. First of all, I feel bad that that shooting happened. I feel bad about the schools that have shootings. I don't see that that program in other states has really made any difference. What really would have helped those 3 professors is if one of them was a CCW allowed to carry on campus. It's possible that the 3 of them would be alive today. So please vote no. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lorena Biasotti, speaking for myself. This is your daily reminder that people who follow gun laws are law-abiding citizens. The idea that anti-gun programs or anti-gun propaganda, much like what you see in California, will stop gun violence is an illusion. Criminals do not intend to abide by any of your laws. We do. You are only targeting the good guys, the ones that stop the shooter. These measures feel good, they're comforting, but they're naive. The sooner you understand this, the sooner you'll stop enacting anti-gun initiatives. On a last note, the UNLV shooter, Polito, was a 67-year-old disgruntled unemployed professor with a target list of faculty. Another problem I have with this is that this is a very partisan bill, leaving the creation of this office to the sole discretion of Attorney General Aaron Ford, who publicly bashes and targets Republicans. It says in Section 7 on line 20 of the revision, the Attorney General shall appoint a director of the office who shall serve at the pleasure of the Attorney General. Absolutely not. Strike this down. And remember, you need a good guy with a gun to stop a bad guy with a gun. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Angel Diaz. I am a member of Youth Power Project and Make the Road Nevada. And the reason why I made this call today is to show my support for this bill. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Diaz. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're in opposition testimony right now. If you don't mind calling back, we will try to get back to everyone who is waiting for support testimony.
Yeah. Okay, I understand.
My name is Daniel Smith, DANIEL SMITH. I am a CCW holder. I'm a firearms instructor. I was on the board of directors out at Desert Sportsman Pistol and Rifle Club. Training and awareness. I'm also a veteran. I have seen the violence. And as far as for the students who encountered these type of issues and seeing these type of things, I pray for you and hope that you can take and get into groups to be able to help with your PTSD or whatever issue that you have. But to create, I'll just take and agree with what has already been said. I want to oppose this bill wholeheartedly. Thank you very much.
Chair, you have no more callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. With that, I'd like to move to neutral testimony. Anyone who's neutral on Senate Bill 156 who wants to be heard here in Carson City or down in Las Vegas? Okay, I don't see anyone neutral on the measure. Broadcasting, is there anyone on the phone lines who's neutral on the measure and wishes to be heard? We're allotting 2 minutes per speaker.
If you would like to testify neutral on SB 156, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry, I pressed for opposition. May I go on?
Yes, please state your name for the record and proceed.
It didn't take my call.
Yes, please state your
Okay,
name.
thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Yes, CYRUSHOJJATY. I appreciate your support, chairperson, as well as the sponsor of this bill. I look forward to working for him. I do absolutely believe gun violence is a problem. I sympathize with the people with the tragic events that happened 2 years ago, and even here in Mandalay Bay. I'm actually staging for taxis right now here, believe it or not. Yes, violence is a concern, but there were some concerns I've had with the presentation. The gaps we see among certain different types of groups, ethnicity, and so forth exist around the world. Now, this uses taxpayer funds. I believe that it depends on what the taxpayer funds is being used. At a town hall, I spoke that one of the causes of this aberrant behavior, there are many different factors. When we look at income inequality, times are tough, opportunities are limited, things have gotten worse in the last 50 years, hence the trade policy we're talking about. When we look at mental health, that's very, very important. When we look at the family structure, hardly anybody is talking about family structure. People who are raised in broken families are more likely to experience this aberrant behavior. Hence, you look at divorces, you look at, parents are not present, teaching their children important lessons. So I believe that the taxpayer fund should be focused on this, raising children appropriately. So maybe if you can add these policies, this is very, very important. I remember at a town hall, I spoke to this. There was Assemblywoman Sandra Warneke and Congressman, what's his name in California? I can't remember. Eric Swalwell, yes. So, and we agreed. There's many different factors that lead to violence. So other than that, please bring these issues into the table. I hope they're in the bill. I could be wrong, but other than that, thank you so much, and I will yield my time. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair. I have my hand raised in opposition, but did not get called on. If there's time in opposition, may I proceed?
Yes, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Thank you, sir. My name is Jim DeGraffenreid, JIMDEGRAFFENREID, and I'm Nevada's Republican National Committee man here today in opposition to SB 156. We all want to address gun violence, but SB 156 is yet another attempt to advance anti-Second Amendment policies under the guise of gun violence prevention. By creating a new office for the prevention of gun violence within the Attorney General's office, this bill sets the stage for increased government overreach and unnecessary bureaucracy that targets law-abiding gun owners rather than criminals. Rather than addressing the root causes of crime, SB 156 paves the way for restrictive gun control measures that do little to enhance public safety, but instead infringe on the rights of responsible firearm owners in Nevada. We were told earlier about the legislation that has been passed in recent years to restrict Second Amendment rights, yet that same slide pointed out that between 2014 and 2023, the rate of gun deaths increased by 24%. If that information is accurate, it's clear that what we are doing is not working. Rather than wasting taxpayer dollars on a new government office with vague powers and duties, Nevada should focus on enforcing existing laws, strengthening mental health services, and holding criminals accountable. Creating another bureaucracy will not deter violent crime, but could be used as a stepping stone for future anti-gun legislation. Protecting the Second Amendment is essential to preserving individual freedom and ensuring that Nevadans can defend themselves and their families. Vote no on SB 156 to prevent unnecessary government expansion and the erosion of gun rights in Nevada. Thank you.
Chair, you have no more callers at this time.
Thank you very much. That concludes our neutral testimony and opposition testimony. I know that there are people still waiting in support, so I'd like to go back down to Las Vegas. Whoever's in support of the measure who didn't get a chance to speak earlier, please come forward. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony. We are limiting testimony to 2 minutes per speaker. And then for all the people on the phone lines, I please ask everyone to be patient. We will get to support testimony on the phone lines as well. Whoever would like to begin, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Oh. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Marta Durán y apoyo la ley SB 156. Muchas gracias.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Juanita Morales. Apoyo la ley SB 156. Muchas gracias.
Gracias para su testimonio. Thank you for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name and proceed.
Hello, committee members. My name is Luna Aguilera, UNAAGUILERA. I'm a member of Make the Road Nevada, and I'm here today to share my experience with gun violence and the urge to support SB 156, a crucial bill that will help create an office for gun violence protection. On December 6, 2023, I was in my sexuality class at the UNLV Beam Hall, where the fire alarm suddenly went off. At first, we assumed it was a drill or a real fire. No one was too concerned. But as time passed, confusion grew. I remember my professor's uneasy expression. It was clear there was no real protocol for what was happening. When I tried to leave, I was met with chaos. Students running, shoving, and panicking. Someone pushed me back and said, "There's a shooter." That's when it hit me. This wasn't a drill or a fire. My heart pounded as I turned to escape at the emergency exit. I saw armed officers hiding behind the walls. That moment froze me until a girl grabbed my arm and pulled me down the stairs. That's how I made it out. Outside, the fear didn't fade. Police cars surrounded the area. Officers shouted for us to move. My phone buzzed. Shooter in Beam Hall. Run, hide, and fight. That alert made everything feel even more real. I didn't know how many shooters there were or where they might be. I just ran further and further, unsure if anywhere was safe. Even after escaping, the fear, confusion, and shock stayed with me. Lives were lost that day. We were lucky not to be among them. That's why I urge you to support SB 156. It will help us become the 6th state in the nation to have an office that can provide recommendations to help combat the ever-increased dangers that might be with gun violence. This bill can help save lives and protect students, parents, families, and staff from experiencing the terror I went through. No student shall ever have to fear this. You must support SB 156 to combat our schools safer. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony and sharing what you went through and experienced. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Abraham Camejo, Camejo. I'm a father. I'm a small business owner that I do safety risk management. I write safety policies and plans for companies. Like this, when this active shooting happened at UNLV, my phone, I got activated as part of the Nevada CERT team to respond for this. I've also been in a barricade situation with my kids in a situation a few years ago. I'm tired. I'm tired of America loving guns over their children. I am a father. I'm here in support for this because gun violence is a disease that we have here in the United States. In Clark County School District, we've had 36 guns 36 guns this school year alone. It is available on the school's website. It is only a matter of time before an active shooting incident comes to Las Vegas in the Clark County School District and affects our children. This is regardless of political party. This is a fact. It will happen. We need to prevent it. We need to create the office where we can continue this conversation, educate our community. Yes, guns don't kill people. It's the people, it's the mentality. My family, we're a Marine family. We have guns, but education is crucial. As a safety risk management and a business owner, I literally see this on a daily basis. I go to businesses and write safety policies for emergency procedures to exit. Where you guys are at in Carson City, you guys are in a dead zone right now, sitting there in case some incident happened. You guys cannot exit your seats right now in emergency procedures. This room where I'm at only has 3 exits. It is a problem that we have, and we need to continue to address this. It is not to take away anybody's guns, but to address the problem and to actually get the data that we need, educate everybody, because we cannot
Sorry
continue
to
to
interrupt you,
love
Mr.
our
Michael.
guns
We are
more
at 2 minutes.
than.
If you could wrap up your comments.
Thank you. We cannot continue to love guns over our children. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Aaron Batista, spelled B-A-U-T-I-S-T-A, and I am here to express my support for SB 156, which would establish the Office of Gun Violence Prevention in Nevada. I am a public school teacher for CCSD, and I'm a member of the Board of Regents. So this bill is extra important to me after the tragedy at UNLV. As an educator, I've spoken with so many fellow teachers who feel unsafe due to gun violence, and it saddens me that we have to practice so many drills in the event of an active shooter. I have students who cry when we do these drills and have to keep telling them it's pretend. But I fear maybe one day it won't be pretend. Students and teachers shouldn't have to worry about getting shot when at school. SB 156 would ensure that something is being done to prevent gun violence by funding an office for prevention programs, resources, and research to help reduce gun violence in the community. This isn't a red or blue issue. This is for our students, our future, and the community. This would make everyone safer and create a better Nevada for all. For those reasons, I support the passage of SB 156 to help prevent gun violence in Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good evening, Vice Chair and members of the Committee on Government Affairs. For the record, my name is Alexander Avila, A-V-I-L-A, and I'm here to testify in support for SB 156. As a UNLV alumni and a student who was on campus on December 26, 2023, a decision between making up for my work and staying for my finals is what caused me to not be present for the time of the shooting by 10 minutes. The split decision that I made that day from being at work and being at the student union, even though I wasn't present, I started beginning receiving phone calls and texts from my friends and colleagues who were still on campus. I heard their panic in their voice and the desperation of them trying to get out as they fear for their lives and the uncertainty that was occurring at that moment. I had already begun to think about the people who may have already been lost to us and the families that would have been shattered by this. Never in my life, I thought something like this would occur on our campus, in our state, in our city, and yet my ignorance of that, realizing of how short of time we have, I took it for granted. I know some of you will return home soon to your families this weekend, and I asked the committee to reflect on who's waiting for you when you return. Either that's today, tomorrow, or at the end of the session, who's waiting for you to come back and what's important to you. The bill is an issue of public safety and making sure we come back home without the fear of gun violence behind our backs. It's not a perfect world. Crime and violence will continue, but if we're able to break that cycle though, and ensure the next generation can live in a better world than we left it, then I say it's worth passing this bill. And so with that, I say, please don't wait any longer. Think about what's really important and who we're doing this for, most importantly. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your testimony. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the committee. My name is Jay Ocasio, J-A-Y-O-C-A-S-I-O. I'm a student at UNLV, and I was on campus on December 6th, just like most people here. Because of that, I'm in strong support of Senate Bill 156, and I urge the committee to pass SB 156 and take stand for the safety of our communities. Senate Bill 156 takes real steps toward making Nevada safer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ocasio, for sharing what you went through that day. Anyone, whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
My name is Joe Buban. My last name is spelled as Buban. I am a small business owner, and I own a media company here in Las Vegas called PhilAm TV Network. I have interviewed people from like Make Their Own Nevada, Youth Voice of Nevada, and other organizations. However, I'm not here because I don't speak for like the others because I'm no longer a student, but as a former student, you know, back in my day in high school, I'm like one of the last of the decade before all this mass shootings, became like part of the norms. And one of the reasons why I support this bill because it will also be for gun safety, not only for students, but throughout the communities throughout Nevada. And one of the reasons why I'm here to speak is because I think in regards of the opposition is that, history has shown us on who's for gun control and who's for against gun control. And let me tell you something that the anti-gun propaganda that the people that are the pro-gun are advocating against, who are advocating against like bureaucracy control, gun rights taken away, are actually the same forces throughout history has shown that these are the same people who are for people that they should surrender their guns, especially like those who are, part of the any resistance groups, which I'm not gonna name. And to the opposition that I ask is, where were you on guns issues whenever there's a gang violence going on throughout streets or riots happening? And where were you like when before, when there was a governor who was then president, saying to like a party
Sorry to
saying that
interrupt
they
you. We
should
are
surrender
at
their
2
guns?
minutes. If you could wrap up your
Yes.
comments, thank you.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Senator. Let me wrap this up. I think it's moronic and hypocrisy that, the same people that are supporting this, again, who are against these gun bills, are actually the same people when it's another group that are for gun resistance, that they're the same people who are for them that they should surrender their guns.
Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for your comments.
Thank you very much.
We have a lot of people waiting. Thank you. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Hello, everybody. My name is Robert Garcia, lead organizer with Make the Road Nevada. I want to ditto and urge the committee to please support this bill. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Flor Diaz, FLORDIAZ. I'm the youth organizer with Make the Road Nevada, and I support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Committee members, Tony Ramirez with Make the Road Nevada, TonyRamirez. I'm, again, the Government Affairs Director with Make the Road Nevada, and I represent a lot of the youth that you did see from our Youth Power Project at Make the Road. They are members of our organization, and we are in strong support of this bill.
Thank you very much. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Maria Moore. I'm a manager at Nevada Partners for Education and Youth Development, and I strongly support SB 156.
Thank you very much. Whoever would like to go next, please state your name for the record and proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Michaela Settings. I'm an executive member for the Youth Action Board, and I strongly support SB 156.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your testimony. Anyone else in Las Vegas who wishes to speak in support of Senate Bill 156? Okay, I'm not seeing anyone come forward. So broadcasting on the phone lines, I know the callers have been very patient in support of SB 156. I know we had people waiting from earlier.
If you would like to testify in support of SB 156, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 200, please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Again, caller with the last 3 digits of 200, please press star 6 to unmute. Thank you. Please continue.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Shemek, and today I stand before you as a high school student, someone who should be focused on learning, growing, and dreaming about the future. But instead, we are forced to carry something that no child should ever have to carry: fear. Fear that we could walk to every day and be. Fear that school we walk into every day could be a place of tragedy. Fear that the parks we play in, the neighborhoods we call home, could suddenly become scenes of violence. This is our reality. Every day we wake up with the weight of anxiety on our shoulders. We are taught to hide, to lock doors, to brace ourselves from the unimaginable. We live in a world where we are more afraid of what might happen to us than what we are excited about what the future holds. No child, no teenager should ever have to live like this. We deserve better. We deserve to grow up in a world where safety is not a privilege but a right. We deserve to go to school, to play, to walk our streets without the constant fear of losing our lives. We deserve the right to live, to dream, and to grow without this heavy burden on our hearts. It's not just a bill. The Gun Safety Act SB 156 is about a right to live without the heavy weight of fear that we carry every day. It's about creating a safer Nevada, a Nevada where we can all live with peace, we can live with peace of mind, knowing that we are protected, that our communities are safe, and that we are free to live without looking over our shoulders. This is not about sides. This is a human issue. It's about our safety, our future, and our well-being. It's about ensuring we as children can live in a world where we don't have fear for our lives when we step outside our doors. We're not asking for much. We are asking the chance to live without fear, to live with hope. We are asking for the freedom to grow, to learn, and to dream without the looming shadow of violence hanging over us. I kindly ask for your support. Stand with us, fight for us, and fight for a future where no child has to live in fear, where we can go to school and come home safe. If we, your children, are not safe today, how can we possibly have the chance to build a better tomorrow? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Riley Svensson, RYLEY SVENDSEN, and I am the Policy Specialist with the Nevada Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. NCE-DSP is here in strong support of SB 156. In 2024, there were 49 Nevadans killed as a direct result of intimate partner violence. 84% of these deaths were from a firearm. Sadly, Nevada ranks second in the nation for rates of domestic violence, and when an abusive partner has access to a gun, a domestic violence victim is 5 times more likely to be killed. Because of this, establishing the Office for the Prevention of Gun Violence is critical to increasing public safety and keeping Nevadans safe. The community-based, culturally competent initiatives to reduce gun violence and research on gun violence prevention will save lives. We urge you to support SB 156. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Leanne McAllister, McAllister. I am the Executive Director of the Nevada chapter of the American Academy of Pediatrics in support of SB 156. Establishing the Office for the Prevention of Gun Violence is critical to implement a comprehensive public health strategy aimed at reducing firearm injuries and deaths among children and youth. Similar approaches have been effective in other public health issues, such as reducing motor vehicle-related injuries, showing a significant return on investment. Motor vehicle crashes were once the leading cause of death among young people, but in 2017, firearms took that position. Guns are now the primary cause of death for U.S. children and teens under 18. Improved data infrastructure and research are essential to understand firearm violence risk and protective factors. Any death from gun violence impacts families and communities. The Office for the Prevention of Gun Violence is important to study and implement solutions that can reduce these injuries and deaths. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jenny Stepp, Jenny Stepp, and I'm a licensed clinical professional counselor in private practice in Las Vegas, specializing in mood and anxiety disorders, trauma, and PTSD. I'm a member of the Nevada chapter of the National Organization for Women and serve as the Healthcare Action Team Chair. Sadly, I'm also a survivor of gun violence. I find myself so discouraged when the conversation turns into a partisan issue, usually conflict, because the goals of mental health, safety, responsible ownership, crime prevention, and crisis response get lost. As a clinical professional counselor, I would be thrilled to have a state office that could support my work. I frequently hear the statement, guns don't kill people, people kill people. Well, yes, so how do you support the providers doing the work with people in crisis? This bill would assist the mental health communities because the office would serve as a hub for education, collaboration, violence prevention, and crisis response resources for providers like me who are serving our people, our fellow Nevadans. For these reasons, I strongly encourage the committee to vote yes on Senate Bill 156. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Luisa Benasano, Luizabenisano, and I am the Campaigns and Community Engagement Manager for Planned Parenthood Votes Nevada. We strongly support SB 156 and believe this bill is long overdue. Not only has gun violence been continuously rising in this country over the decades, but Las Vegas was the site of one of the worst mass shootings in our nation's history, the scars of which the community still bears to this day. It is absolutely necessary to create an office that specifically tackles and addresses this issue for the state. We urge you to vote in support of SB 156. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Angel Diaz, and I am a member of Youth Power Project and Make the Road Nevada. And the reason why I made this call is to show my support for this bill. That's it. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mildred Lizos Navarro-Can. I am here to support SB 156 because no student should have to experience the fear of gun violence at school. On May 8th, 2023, at around 12:28 p.m., I was at Bonneville Middle School when we went to a hard lockdown. A school monitor was shot outside by a stray bullet outside with other students during lunch. Both students and teachers were terrified, unsure of what was happening and if someone was truly wanting to harm everyone inside the school. We were relieved when we learned that the school monitor survived, but the reality is that the bullet could have hit any one of us outside in the moment. The next day, more than 50% of students missed school. They were too scared to return and feared that they would be the next target. And since then, our school has faced constant threats, both real and false, involving firearms. Schools should be a place of learning, not to fear. But for many of us, it is no longer the reality. That's why SB 156 is so important. This bill would establish an Office of Gun Violence Prevention within the Attorney General's office, making Nevada the 13th state to take this critical step according to the Joyce Foundation. This office would use data-driven research to identify solutions and policies that reduce gun violence, helping to prevent future tragedies in our schools and communities. Gun violence is not just statistics. It is a reality that students like me live with every day. I have a niece that also goes to school. I would be in fear if something ever happened to her. And I do not wish to make that message to my parents again if something happened. Public safety is urgent. We cannot afford to wait any longer. Every day without stronger gun violence prevention measures puts lives at risk, including the lives of other children. To lawmakers, I ask, how many more students have to live in fear before action is taken? Pass SB 156 and make our schools a place of safety, not tragedy. Can I ask for your support? Thank you.
Vice Chair, you have no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you very much, Broadcasting. And I want to thank all the survivors, the students from UNLV, from other schools, the adults who shared their stories of surviving gun violence and relived a lot of the traumatic events in their lives, for sharing them with us and testifying. Chair Flores, thank you very much for presenting Senate Bill 156. I'd like to invite you up to make any closing comments.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the committee, Senator Edgar Flores, for the record. I do appreciate you allowing the students to be heard. It's obviously a very important day for them, so thank you for that. I wanted to first just very quickly say thank you to Emer and Alistair for organizing all these students, organizing the community, and all the work that they've been doing in the interim to get this bill to where it's at now. Just very briefly, a lot of folk kept talking about creating legislation that's going to be anti-gun. I just wanted to make it abundantly clear. This office will not have the power to create legislation. They're going to compile data and they're going to give it back to us, and we do with it whatever we want. Everything's going to be transparent. Everything's going to go through this body. Everything will be questioned. Everything will be dissected. They're not creating legislation. Number two, I kept hearing that we need to do better in gun safety. We need to do better with teaching folk how to do things. That's the whole point of getting this data, so that we realize where the gaps are, where the holes are, where do we need to put resources. I also heard that they don't trust government, that this will be used as propaganda. That's why in the bill we specifically focused on professors and research. We wanted to make sure that we're bringing that approach to this conversation and move away from the typical propaganda that we hear and that we're also accustomed to. There was a mention about how expensive this is. Again, we're not utilizing any state money for this. That's why we made it a May, and that we're creating the ability for them to fundraise and work with the different stakeholders and different nonprofits to do this. They kept mentioning that we need to make it more concise. I think if we make it more concise, it would hurt the agenda. The idea is to allow everybody to come in. Once you start putting parameters on who's allowed in, then we keep people out unintentionally. We have to keep this conversation super broad so that the NRA can do what they have to do, so that nonprofits can do what they have to, law enforcement, all the different folk that want to engage in this conversation and data collecting, that we allow them to do it. Lastly, whether we put it under the governor's office or the AG's office or any office, there's always going to be a political arm or notion attached to that. The governor's not always going to be who it is today. The AG's not always going to be who it is today. I understand that. This is why we create a broad kind of approach to it that is data-focused, research-focused. And the only other thing I want to remind everybody that I will continue to work with anybody. If you have recommendations, I will work with you on that. With that, Mr. Vice Chair, I appreciate your time and everybody's indulgence today.
Thank you very much, Chair Flores. Thank you for presenting Senate Bill 156. With that, I'd like to close the hearing on Senate Bill 156, invite you to come back up and pass the gavel back to you, Chair.
All right, thank you again, everybody who's here on a late after hours of Senate Government Affairs. Next on the agenda, we have Senate Bill 449. For clarity and for transparency purposes, this is a bill that I, through the committee, brought forth along with Mr. Hawks. In the interest of time, I'm not going to come and do an opening statement, but because I'm on this side of the dais on a bill that I'm helping with, I wanted to be fully transparent. I worked with Mr. Hawks in trying to get this, and I know he's worked on amending it with a lot of the stakeholders in the room. I'm going to refrain from asking any questions. I'm just going to help run the committee. That way, everybody understands that I am being transparent, and I am not here to try to move the agenda in one way or the other. With that, I'd like to open up the hearing on Senate Bill 449, whenever you're ready.
Again, I'm Kenneth Hawks, representing Clark County Law Enforcement Association. We thank you for your time. We'll try to be as brief as possible.
Good afternoon, Senators and Committee. My name is Jason Yalay. I'm also with the Clark County Law Enforcement Association. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm here to discuss Bill SB 449 that addresses updates to reflect current specialized agencies, not only statewide, but more specifically, operating in the County of Clark. Specifically, the Clark County Police Office of Public Safety, a patrol-oriented agency. This bill will provide proper protections and recognition for the public safety officers serving the community. Our valley continues to grow and evolve, and with it, the agency's tasks of keeping people safe have growing responsibilities. We're all aware of this. This bill recognizes and allows flexibility to public safety officers to expand as necessary. Being a patrol-based agency, officers are tasked and called to respond to calls all over the county in both incorporated cities and unincorporated Clark County, and oftentimes are tasked with handling things and ensure if they're protected. This bill will allow public safety to work with LVMPD and the sheriff while protecting the interests of the sheriff. We have respectfully worked with several agencies and groups such as Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, Clark County, LVPPA, and the City of Las Vegas, and would like to extend a personal thank you to all of them. At this time, they're all in agreement at the latest amendment of the bill.
We'll let them speak on that.
We appreciate your efforts and support for law enforcement and believe in updating the statute through this bill with the current amendments aligns everyone's goals. Thank you for your time, and I'll turn it back over to President Hawks.
Do all the senators have a copy of the proposed amendment in front of them? Okay. So just to touch
Yes,
on.
I do believe so. Members, do you all have the amendment? I just want to make abundantly clear that you all have the amendment. It does have the Clark County logo on the top left corner. I want to make sure that everybody has that. And I do see it in everybody's hand. Please proceed.
Okay. I know we kind of had removed a lot of the language. I think the amendment reflects the current practices between the agencies down in Clark County, specifically with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and the Clark County Office of Public Safety. In chapter 28125, the intent of this bill was to make sure that all agencies operating under this statute are reflected in the statute. Just a brief history on that, we began as Clark County Park Rangers back in 1979, I believe. And then in the early 2000s or late 90s, we were rebranded to Clark County Park Police. And then in 2023, we were rebranded again to the Clark County Office of Public Safety, and some additional duties were tasked to the department. So we just want to make sure that we're operating under that statute, that our agency is listed and reflected in that. So the officer's jurisdiction is reflected in what we're capable of patrolling. And then if we move over to, let me pull the amendment up. The new proposed subsection F from section 2, the purposes authorized by and with the consent of the sheriff of the county is established in an interlocal cooperative agreement. I believe this currently mirrors our practices now as we're going forward. We currently have several MOUs with Metro, so I think this just allows us to negotiate further and potentially temporary jurisdiction and authority when responding to active crimes that need imminent or immediate response times. And then we can turn it over to Las Vegas Metro. But again, I think that just allows us to negotiate with Metro for further protections for our officers. And then in section 8, the amendment is just to remove the language that states and section 1 of this act, because we are deleting the proposed section 1. So the section 2, how it's currently stated, will remain as the current section 1 of that statute, 28125. We also want to make sure that that proposed language, and most of it lies on page 3 and 4 of the original bill as proposed. Those are the only changes to that bill. With the purposes of the remaining pages and subsections, that all those remain the same, where it imposes the officer language into each of those statutes that delineating the jurisdiction of this agency. And with that, we're open to any questions that you have.
Members, any questions regarding the amended version? Senator Krasner, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for your presentation. I'm just wondering, why do you feel that we need this bill? Thank you.
One, because the agency itself is not listed under the statute that we operate under. So we want to make sure that our agency is listed under that statute to give us some clarification that we can operate and that we are governed by the sections of that statute in Chapter 280 and 125. Yep.
Vice Chair, please.
Thank you. A couple of brief questions, Chair, if you'll indulge me. The new language in the amendment on page 2, about quarter of the way down in green, this is section 2, 3 sub F.
Yes, sir.
Talks about the purposes authorized by and with the consent of the sheriff of the county is established in an interlocal or cooperative agreement. Can you, what do you think would be those purposes where you might be assisting the sheriff? What do you foresee? What kind of activities that would be?
So again, we are a patrol agency in Clark County. We patrol throughout Clark County. So we want to make sure that our officers are afforded the protections when they observe a crime in progress, and as well as when we are requested to assist Las Vegas Metro or other primary jurisdictions in the valley. Our officers currently question their jurisdiction and are concerned with what are the repercussions of acting outside the statutory jurisdiction laid out for us.
Thank you. And then, with your indulgence, Chair, then if this passes, you're not going to be just limited to parks. You'll be patrolling the whole county like a metro officer.
So I believe the way the statute currently reads is property leased, owned, or otherwise under the control of Clark County. So we currently patrol all Clark County parks and all Clark County properties. What this would do, the subsection F would just allow Metro to provide us some additional jurisdiction or some protections when we're acting outside of those properties. And it again, this protects Metro's interests as well. So our officers are kind of held to a certain standard where they're not out there doing anything that the sheriff is not allowing us to do. It's all basically at the behest of the sheriff and what we can agree to in a memorandum of understanding.
Thank you very much. And then last question with your indulgence, Chair, if that's okay?
Please.
Thank you. So assuming this passes and there is a memorandum of understanding, and let's say the sheriff wants you to perform a particular function that's not in a park or county property, are your officers, I mean, are they uniform and cars that are identifiable, or do they go undercover where they wouldn't be recognized immediately as officers?
All our officers are Category 1 police officers. We are uniformed and we do drive marked patrol vehicles.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any additional questions? Seeing none, thank you both, and I invite you both to sit back in the gallery.
Thank you.
I suspect that we will get a better understanding once we hear if there's anybody in opposition, which my understanding is we won't have that. So at this time, I'd like to invite those wishing to testify in support of Senate Bill 449. If you could please come forward in Carson City or Las Vegas.
Thank you, Chair Flores and members of the committee. Jeff Rogan, Jeffrogan, on behalf of Clark County. Chair, I want to thank you for working with us and Mr. Hawks for working with us and the other stakeholders on this group. This is an amendment that we all agreed to, and we think that it gives the county and the sheriff and the city the flexibility to expand the powers of its limited law enforcement agencies as we see fit and as those needs change over time, and we urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Josh Martinez. I'm a captain with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, and I worked with the City of Las Vegas, Clark County, and Mr. Hawks regarding his association that he represents prior to session, as well as we worked on the amendment that you're currently looking at and reading. We wanted to make sure with that amendment that we were protecting the interest of the sheriff and the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department and our jurisdiction that we police. In discussions with Mr. Hawks, I know that they were looking at renaming the organization within the statute, but we wanted to make sure, because he had addressed some of the concerns, when they're driving between calls and parks and county properties, that if they saw something en route, since they are in marked vehicles and they are uniformed, that they wanted to be able to act and feel comfortable acting while doing so. And I believe that this allows that to occur as long as they enter into that interlocal agreement with the sheriff. And we do have other MOUs that we operate with their organization as well. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to address those, but we do support the bill as amended. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. And thank you for the work you did. Please.
Good evening, Chair and members of the committee. For the record, Randy Robison, Director of Government Affairs for the City of Las Vegas. We support the intent of the proposed amendment. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Anybody else wishing to come forward and support, either in Carson City or Las Vegas? Support of Senate Bill 449, seeing no one here. Anybody else wishing to testify in support over the phone? BPS, please.
If you would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 449, please press star 9 now. Caller with the last 3 digits of 982, you were unmuted. Please continue.
Good evening. Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is John Abel, John-Abel, represent the LVPPA. We also represent the Las Vegas City Marshals. I want to thank Senator Flores, County and the City, and LVMPD for working on this amendment. The way it is amended, the LVPPA represents the City Marshals, fully support it. Thank you so much.
And thank you for
Chair,
joining
you have no more callers in support at this time.
Understood. BPS will stay on the phone line. Anybody wishing to testify in opposition over the phone?
If you would like to testify in opposition of Senate Bill 449, please press star 9 now. Chair, you have no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Anybody else, anyone wishing to speak in opposition, Carson City or Las Vegas? Seeing, I do see some folk in Las Vegas. Good evening. Welcome to you both whenever you're ready.
Thank you. I know it's been a long day for everyone. I appreciate you sticking through with us. My name's Derek Myers. I speak in opposition of Senate Bill 449. It's here a bill that I realize this amendment just came before me just within the last few minutes. I was just reading it, so thank you for providing that here locally. But this seeks to expand the Las Vegas Marshals and the Clark County Park Rangers. And experience matters. We've all stepped into roles where we've had the basics down, maybe even the certifications. It took time, real time, to learn the ropes. I think of elected office. You campaign, you win, you show up on day one with a title and a mission. But the real learning happens in the field dealing with the messiness of reality. It's not so different from law enforcement. Sure, city marshals and park rangers might have the same Category 1 peace officer certification as Metro, but certification isn't the same as field training. It's not the same as day in and day out grind of patrolling streets, responding to emergencies and making split-second decisions. That kind of experience is earned on the ground, and dare I say, like some trades, it's best learned on the streets. Metro has that right now. The marshals and the rangers, by and large, do not. Metro does what this bill has already and is pushing for. The sheriff is tasked with keeping our county safe. Metro has the resources, the experience, and the jurisdiction to handle everything that this bill wants to hand over to the marshals and the rangers, and we don't need to be duplicating efforts. The city of Las Vegas is strapped for cash. We're talking more than $636 million lost in the Badlands lawsuit, millions more in legal fees, hiring freezes, budget cuts. The marshal's budget alone, according to a local report by Darcy Spears at Channel 13, is ballooning to $204 million this fiscal year. That's up by $13 million from last year. And for what? A group who by law are supposed to stick to city property, park buildings, and the Fremont Street experience. They're not sticking to that. We have a federal lawsuit alleging a pattern of marshals overstepping their jurisdiction, arresting people on highways, searching cars on public streets, racking up potentially thousands of class action claims. And that's not just a legal headache, it's a taxpayer nightmare. These officers are properly trained or equipped. The marshals already.
And sir, I don't mean to cut
Yes,
you off,
Mr.
but
Chairman.
if you could just wrap up your final statement, we are at that 2-minute mark. Please continue.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yes, thank you. I think we need to have people that are in these positions to be field trained. The marshals and the city park police are tied to jurisdictions that do not let them have the experience they need to go out onto the streets and perform things. Stopping people without that experience
And
is
thank
a
you,
very
sir.
dangerous trend.
I understand your position. Thank you for joining us. If you do have any additional written remarks, please do email those to us. I'll make sure the entire committee gets them. Thank you
Thank
again
you,
for
Mr.
joining us.
Chairman.
Good evening, sir. Please, gentleman to your left.
Good afternoon, Chairman. Doug Roberts here. In full disclosure, I have not seen this amendment, and I'm not opposed to this bill if it is only involving the Clark County Police and the Clark County Police alone, as long as they have this authority only when asked by the sheriff to assist, not the city marshals. However, the bill in its current form seems to apply to city marshals, and with that, I'm in strong opposition to this bill, and I'm not alone. This bill currently has 100% opposition rate in Nellis, and for good reason. What happened to Mr. Myers? He didn't get to this, but he was unlawfully stopped a few months ago while traveling down the federal highway, US 11, also known as 95. He was falsely arrested for DUI without a warrant, without a breathalyzer. They falsely stopped him for speeding, and they didn't even have a radar gun. These were Las Vegas city marshals. They're arresting sober people for DUI. And after his experience, we began an in-depth investigation into this issue. What we uncovered is that there are thousands of victims per year getting arrested and cited illegally by marshals outside their limited jurisdiction. And it's no surprise, Mr. Chair, the vast majority of them are Black and brown minorities. This bill is the exact opposite of what we need right now. NRS 280.125 defines marshals as units of specialized law enforcement. Current statutory limits on the marshal's authority and jurisdiction is to city-owned, leased, and controlled property only. The bill would give the marshals not only jurisdiction on city-owned property, not just jurisdiction in the city limits, but county-wide jurisdiction. That is unprecedented. Normal city police departments such as Henderson and North Las Vegas that are not even part of a metropolitan police department don't have that kind of authority. The marshals already violate the law every day, and the last thing we need to do is give them more authority. Just in the past week, every news outlet in the area has reported on this problem, and I'll just read you some of the headlines. 8 News Now, downtown Las Vegas street performer asks for transparency after dolly use dispute. 8 News Now, lawsuit filed against Las Vegas city marshals for alleged abuse of authority. Channel 3 News, lawsuit claims city marshals overstepped jurisdiction leading to illegal detention.
And thank you, sir. Again, sorry to cut you off, but we are at the 2-minute mark. Please, if you could do your closing remark.
Thank you. Once again, we're in opposition to this. Thank you.
And thank you, sir. I do urge you to look at the amendment, and please submit your assessment of that amendment to the committee. I'll make sure we distribute it amongst the entire group. Thank you again for joining us this evening. Is there anybody else wishing to testify in opposition? Seeing none. BPS, do we have anybody wishing to join us in opposition over the phone?
If you would like to testify in opposition of SB 449, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, you have no callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to testify in the neutral position over the phone? BPS, please.
If you would like to testify neutral on Senate Bill 449, please press star 9 now. Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
Sounds good. Anybody in Las Vegas or Carson City wishing to testify neutral? Seeing none. Any closing remarks you may have, Mr. Hawks?
Again, we would just like to thank Chair Flores for all the work that you've done on this bill with us. We would like to thank the rest of the senators and committee members on this bill. We appreciate all the work and the effort in allowing us to present this bill to you. We hope you find it reasonable to push this bill forward. We think it would be very beneficial for not only the law enforcement that it will control, but also the community as a whole.
Thank you.
And thank you both again.
Thank you
for joining us this evening, and thank you to all the stakeholders who worked on the amendment to find consensus. Appreciate everybody's time and commitment to the bill. With that, we'll go ahead and close out the hearing on Senate Bill 449. And last on the agenda, but not least, we still have Senator Skip Daly, who will be presenting his bill. I do apologize for anybody who is specifically for that bill waiting patiently. Members, I did have an opportunity to look to my left, but are we good, or do you need a quick 3-minute break?
Great idea.
Senator Daly, if you don't mind, could we do a quick 3-minute break, 5-minute break? We are in recess. 5-minute break.
It's great, all the students who came through your bill.
Oh, they organized in a way that Make it happen. Senate Committee on Government Affairs will come back to order. At this time, I'd like to open up the hearing on Senate Bill 420. Senator Daly, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Skip Daly, representing Senate District 13 for the record. I'm going to make a few, hopefully brief remarks before I hand it over to the co-presenters who will walk through the bill. It is still a bit of a work in progress. We've made quite a few changes, but there were a few things that we went over today and still discovering on that. So this bill is not actually mine. It came from the interim committee on the TRP Oversight Committee. It's a big, long name, but TRPA. It was a request from the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency to have a business improvement district similar to the ones they have in California and other areas of the country, but I know there's one just across the the state line in Kings Beach, right? And so this is one element of all of the things that we are bringing forward through the TRPA committee, trying to address some of the issues that were identified, especially in regard to transit, transportation, traffic, the number of people that are coming up. We want them to have a good experience, and we don't want to unnecessarily impact the people that live there as well. Although there's always going to be an intermix and that type of stuff. We're not going to close the lake off, but we're also not going to just disregard the people that live there as well. So in that light, the couple of things that we're still working on in this amendment, first of all, the language on prevailing wage for the bonds is language that I gave them sample, which came from another statute, so it's referencing the wrong statute. We can get that cleaned up when LCB looks at their stuff. Looking on it earlier today, there is a new definition that we want to move over into definitions for employer association, I believe. That needs to be defined, and then make other provisions make more sense on who has to turn in the report and various things. And then another couple of things that we're looking at, and Mr. Middlebrook has to go back and talk with some of the businesses on that. We want to focus it more when they put their plan together on what they can do. So they have the elements of the things they can do, the activities. But we want, when the plan is adopted by the county, to have a focus on transportation. So we're hoping to put in a provision that says, hey, because the whole thing can only go 5 years unless they extend it, and there's language on that. That the first 3 years, 75% of whatever would be done would go towards transit activities, and then would drop down to another number after that. But we're going to go back with the businesses and see how they feel about that, because we have to have enough flexibility that it's worth their while doing. But until we address the transit issues, there isn't really, that has to come first. It just absolutely has to come first. So with that, I'll hand it over to our two co-presenters, Devin Middlebrook and Andy Chapman.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Daly, for the introduction and your leadership on this bill. Good afternoon, Chair Flores, Vice Chair Osheral, and the committee. My name is Andrew Chapman, C-H-A-P-M-A-N, and I'm the President and CEO of Travel North Tahoe, Nevada, formerly the Incline Village Crystal Bay Visitor Bureau. I also serve as Chair of the Board for the Tahoe Transportation District. Travel North Tahoe, Nevada, or TNT as we are called, is a nonprofit cooperative corporation founded pursuant to NRS Statute Chapter 81. We are the official destination management organization for the Washoe County portion of Lake Tahoe, serving the communities of Incline Village and Crystal Bay. Our mission is to encourage destination experiences that support a vibrant economy, enhanced community character, and foster environmental stewardship, all focused towards sustainable management of Nevada's unique assets of Lake Tahoe. Senate Bill 420 will create the ability for local businesses within the Nevada portion of the Tahoe Basin to petition the relevant county to create a business improvement district known as a BID, which could only be created with the support of the business community and the approval of the county commission. A BID is a designated area where local businesses agree to a self-assessment to fund improvements and services that support sustainable management of the Lake Tahoe community. These improvements may include transportation or transit services, cleaner streets, improved security, supporting community events, and other activities. The goal of a BID at Tahoe is to ensure the sustainability of the Nevada portion of the lake for residents, workers, and visitors, which in turn sustains the business community as well. One critical investment Incline Crystal Bay businesses would make if SB 420 is approved is in our TART Connect program. TART Connect is an existing on-demand curb-to-curb ride-share service available for any trip within the North Lake Tahoe area. This service is free for residents and visitors. Currently, TART Connect operates on the north shore of Lake Tahoe and Truckee. Specifically in Washoe County, since its inception, TART Connect has provided nearly 400,000 rides. It reduces the number of vehicles on the lake's critical and limited roadways, decreasing traffic, improving the visitor experience, and reducing environmental impacts on the Tahoe Basin. It also reduces the impacts of visitor traffic on residents. Finally, businesses support TART Connect because it gives their employees reliable transportation to and from work. The BID will allow us to expand this service and support similar programs. Another example of what a BID may support is community beautification projects and trash cleanup efforts. An important piece of TNT's mission is to ensure that the Tahoe destination is not adversely impacted by the millions of people who visit annually. Tahoe requires continued diligence to protect both the environment and to provide balance with our community. A healthy lake in turn supports Tahoe's $5 billion annual economy. Senate Bill 420 provides a vehicle to help us achieve these necessary goals. Importantly, SB 420 permits the creation of a BID only if the majority of the local businesses that would pay that self-assessment seek its creation, and then still requires approval and oversight by the county and the legislature. In short, this is pro-business, pro-environment, and pro-community bill. This is emphasized by the 40-plus letters of support submitted to this committee by local businesses and residents in the Tahoe Basin. In addition, here in the chambers earlier today in support of SB 420 was Pascal Dupuis, GM of the Hyatt Lake Tahoe Regency property, Kevin Drake, owner of the Alibi Ale Works in Incline, and Daria Shafaran, owner of Tahoe Gifting Company, a small business located in Incline Village. I will now turn this presentation to Devin Middlebrook with the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency to walk through the technical aspects of the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you, Senator Daly. I am Devin Middlebrook, Middlebrook, Government Affairs Manager for the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency. I am here today because this bill was submitted through the Tahoe Interim Committee, as Senator Daly explained, and I want to clarify TRPA's role in the proposed bill. Our agency submitted a bill draft request during the interim session on behalf of the local jurisdictions, since they expressed interest in creating business improvement districts to support environmental and transportation projects at Lake Tahoe. Private sector investment in Lake Tahoe's environmental improvement program is critical to unlocking state and federal dollars to accelerate our efforts to protect Lake Tahoe. Finally, the draft bill does not change any authority that TRPA currently has under our bi-state compact. None of the Business Improvement District administration, approvals, funds raised, or operations would be overseen by TRPA. That oversight is done by the county and this legislature. Now I will quickly walk through the draft bill. Section 3, it limits business improvement districts to the Nevada portions of the Tahoe Basin only. Sections 4 through 10 define key terms for use in this bill. Section 5, the definition defines the eligible activities a business district, improvement district may undertake. Importantly, these activities support local businesses and reduce impacts from tourism, including investing in transportation, litter cleanups, and community beautification. Section 11 describes the process to create a BID through a petition of businesses in the proposed district. Section 12 includes the requirements of the district management plan, which outlines how the business improvement district will operate. Section 13 through 16 describes the public formation and approval process. This includes a requirement for a public hearing at the County Board of Commissioners. Section 17 details the assessment, collection, and disbursement process of revenues raised. Section 18 requires annual reporting to the legislature for any business improvement district activities. And finally, Section 19 describes the authority to sell bonds for capital investments. Included in your meeting materials is a set of friendly amendments to the bill language that we worked with stakeholders and Senator Daley to develop. As he mentioned, we're still fine-tuning this as we're bringing this new model to Nevada. We want to make sure we're doing it correctly. Key amendments include in Section 5 to update and clarify the activities the BID can undertake. Housing was removed as an eligible activity because we heard stakeholders say that that's maybe too big of a challenge for the business community to tackle alone. We also have Senate Bill 99, which you have all heard, which is working on housing solutions at Tahoe. Additions to Section 15 and new sections at the end of the amendments clarify the renewal and modification processes. Section 18 adds additional annual reporting and oversight requirements that were added to strengthen transparency and public input in the BID process. And in Section 19, we added Senator Daley's prevailing wage language for any requirements required for any capital projects funded through the bond proceeds. That is also where the definition of owners association is, who would oversee and manage the BID. That should be moved up to the definition section. With that, I will now turn it back to Chair Flores for any questions from the committee.
Thank you for walking us through that. And I know that a lot of the opposition focused heavily on how there wouldn't be transparency input and that there was no real opportunity for businesses and or other stakeholders to push or resist against this, but you've made abundantly clear that they need to opt in, they need to agree to it, and that there has to be a transparent process. So thank you for that. Members, I'd like to open it up for questions based on the amendment. Seeing none for now. Senator Daley, we appreciate your work. Thank you, and we understand it's going to be a work in progress. A few other things that will be coming, but thank you again for the work. I'd like to invite all three of you to sit back. And at this time, I'd like to invite anybody wishing to testify in support of Senate Bill 420, if you could please come forward. Seeing none here, BPS, can we go to the phone lines? Anybody wishing to testify in support of Senate Bill 420?
If you would like to testify in support of Senate Bill 420, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last three digits of 787, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please continue.
Thank you. Good evening, dear Chair Flores and members. On behalf of the Tahoe Douglas Visitors Authority, I am Carol Chaplin, the President and CEO, and we are located in the Tahoe Township of Douglas County. I am here to encourage your committee to advance Senate Bill 420 in this session's legislative process. Members of the Tahoe Douglas Visitors Authority Board of Directors will formally review the text of SB 420 at their board meeting next week. Accordingly, I anticipate our agency will participate as the bill moves forward through additional committee hearings. The Tahoe Township is adjacent to the city of South Lake Tahoe, California, where a successful business improvement district was established in 2006 under existing California law. Members of South Lake Tahoe Tourism Business Improvement District self-assess under an agreed-upon formula based on an adopted district management plan. They use the funds generated to provide a consistent source of funding to help promote tourism and positively impact the economy of the community. The TDVA is interested in a similar self-assessment mechanism with application to those portions of Washoe and Douglas counties located within the Tahoe Basin. Your support for advancing SB 420 provides an opportunity for local stakeholders within the districts that would be empowered to fund and implement sustainable, locally driven, community-based improvements. Such improvements would include transit, and related mobility services that support both economic and environmental goals. Thank you so much for your consideration.
And thank you for joining us this evening. Next caller in support of Senate Bill 420.
Chair, members of the committee, Samantha Barnes with Career Nevada on behalf of LVGEA. We appreciate the sponsor for bringing this forward and support the bill. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Next caller in support, please.
Caller with the last three digits of 942, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please continue.
Hi, my name is Kevin Drake. I was there in person, but needed to leave, so thanks for hearing me today, and thanks for hearing this bill. I own Alibi Ale Works. We're a brewery and also have a restaurant in Incline Village. I also have a brew pub on the California side, and because I do business on both sides of the border, I know firsthand what's possible with a well-functioning business improvement district and the benefits it can provide to the business community for tourism mitigation. Specifically, as has already been called out, microtransit is a huge need and priority. Expansion of that in the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe is a high priority. We love the people. We need fewer cars. Trash and litter cleanup is another huge priority for us. I also want to stress that because the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe is filled with unincorporated communities, we don't have easy ability to generate local funding that can be reinvested locally. And having the ability to form business improvement districts gives us just that. So I'm here to encourage you today to move this bill forward. I think it's good governance to allow the business community to elect to collect funds from patrons that can be reinvested to make the visitor experience better, the businesses stronger, and feel less impact from the high tourism rates that we see in Lake Tahoe. So thanks for your time today.
And thank you for joining us. Next caller in support of Senate Bill 420, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Kyle Davis, today on behalf of the League to Save Lake Tahoe. Thank you for hearing SB 320, a bill to authorize the creation of business improvement districts on the Nevada side of Lake Tahoe. Business improvement districts unlock the power of private investment to bolster public resources for critical service and projects, presenting a massive opportunity for Lake Tahoe. The League was founded in 1957 to address the impacts from development and visitation that were causing our lake's faint clarity to decline. We are the oldest and largest environmental organization at the lake. Lake Tahoe, Nevada needs secure funding that allows for long-term planning. SB 420 will provide local businesses with the opportunity to directly fund transportation, recreation, and other environmental improvements at Lake Tahoe. The BID on the California side of the North Shore of Lake Tahoe is proving to be very successful in providing funding for transportation, housing, and other projects for the community. One way we advocate to protect Lake Tahoe is to pioneer and support new transportation solutions for residents and visitors alike. Microtransit options in Nevada, like Lake Link on the South Shore and TART Connect on the North Shore, have proven successful in lowering the number of cars on the road while keeping residents and visitors moving. Beyond microtransit, a BID could fund safety improvements like sidewalks, snow clearing, and managing current unsafe roadside parking. Thank you for your support of Lake Tahoe and for the opportunity to comment on SB 420. We hope you join us in supporting this important legislation.
And thank you for joining us. Next caller in support of Senate Bill 420, please.
Caller with the last three digits of 535, please press *6 to unmute. Again, caller with the last three digits of 535, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Chair, it looks like this caller is having trouble. That is the last caller you have in support.
Thank you. And caller, if you do have a chance to call, we can hear you now.
Oh, hello, you can hear me?
Yes, we can. Please proceed.
Okay, sorry, I'm on the road. My name is Daria Shavaran, DaryashahVaran. And I was there earlier today. I'm glad I'm able to connect. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Tahoe Gifting Company, small business in Incline Village, Nevada. I also serve on the board of Travel North Tahoe, Nevada, where I work alongside Andy Chapman and other passionate community leaders to advocate for sustainable long-term solutions for our region. I'll start with a quick story from my own experience. My business is located in a center that is home to several locally owned shops and restaurants. It's a high traffic destination for both visitors and locals, but throughout the year, especially during peak summer and winter seasons, our small parking lot becomes unsafe and completely overwhelmed. Cars circle and circle, then leave, never stepping foot into a shop or restaurant. This small parking lot story is a microcosm of a much bigger issue. North Lake Tahoe is seeing visitor volume our infrastructure simply wasn't built to handle. As business owners, we feel the impact every day, not just on our bottom line, but on our roads, our environment, and our quality of life. The cost of inaction is high. We need a stable local funding source, expanding public transportation, improving traffic flow, and upgrading infrastructure will directly benefit businesses like mine. It means fewer cars, a cleaner lake, improved streets, sidewalks, and bike paths, and the kind of traffic we can get behind, foot traffic. On behalf of the many businesses, business owners, and residents I've spoken with, we support Senate Bill 420 because we clearly see the benefits and we know it will give our community a stronger voice in shaping the direction of our region. Thank you for your time, and for considering the future of Washoe, Tahoe.
And thank you for joining us. Next caller in support of Senate Bill 420, please.
Chair, you have no more callers in support at this time.
Thank you. We'll stay on the phone. Those wishing to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 420.
If you would like to testify in opposition of SB 420, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits of 015, please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Please continue.
Good evening. For the record, Fred Voltz, V-O-L-T-Z. Many smaller surviving Nevada businesses are still struggling after COVID disruptions. Imposing new tax and paperwork burdens will harm businesses and employment. Some of the many unanswered questions before any authorizing legislation is approved include, what are the specific planned projects and how much are they projected to cost? Where is the requirement for a rigorous environmental impact analysis? What will the tax rate be? Why isn't there a cap on year-to-year tax increases and a specific formula for calculating increases? Who will run the proposed business improvement district and how will trustees be selected? How are the individual business benefits calculated versus the assessed tax? Which business types will be exempted from paying the tax and which ones will be included? The massive Barton Health Hospital Complex proposal is arguably a business despite its nonprofit legal status. Will it be taxed? Bonds typically have a minimum 20 to 30-year duration, yet this taxing district would have a maximum life of only 5 to 15 years, negatively affecting payback obligations. Why is there no limit on administrative expenses? SB 420's current vague provisions and deliverables forebode failure. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Next caller in opposition to Senate Bill 420.
I'm Pamela Sigdinis, Tsigdinos. I'm a full-time resident of Washoe Tahoe, and I volunteer with Lake Tahoe grassroots groups. We residents have witnessed significant environmental harm from public policy decisions that favor business interests to the detriment of Lake Tahoe. This BID is constitutionally questionable and undemocratic. It is literally taxation without representation. This bill originated this summer by the TRPA working with private legal consulting company called Civitas that earns money, millions, creating what has been described as a, quote, legal loophole or scheme to increase local taxes without public votes. I want to underscore, without public votes. Let's be clear, investigative journalists have recently reported on billions of dollars that TRPA has spent and the millions more it seeks to control with public-private partnerships like this bid that are often hidden behind MOUs and other arrangements to obscure public scrutiny. It is not the TRPA and its commercial partners who will pay Civitas for this new way to generate funds for its development agenda. It's Nevada residents who also fund the TRPA operating budget. This bill asks Nevada taxpayers who do not get a vote to pay Civitas to create a scheme to tax us on TRPA and business behalf. The public does not get a vote in the bid use. It further will intentionally have no accountability and transparency because we do not have an ability to see how the bid use will be, the funds will be used. There are multiple examples of bids in other jurisdictions being used for tourism marketing campaigns. These further strain local resources and add congestion rather than fund infrastructure.
And ma'am.
Don't be fooled.
Hi,
This
ma'am.
bill will exploit the lake and harm our communities. Please oppose 420. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this evening. Next caller in opposition to Senate Bill 420.
Yolanda Kanak, Yolanda, last name Knaak. I am really surprised to hear that the businesses in this community, I live here in Incline Village, 2 blocks from Burnt Cedar Beach, and I am shocked to hear that the businesses want this. Most of the businesses I have talked to, they don't even know about it. And so the other thing you need to know is businesses in this community, it's really hard to survive as a business here. And that tax would be passed on, that would be something they would have to come up with. And also the customers, it would be passed on to the customers, us, the residents. And it's, everything is more expensive here in Tahoe already, and that's going to even make it more expensive. Not everyone here is rich. There are actually a lot of retired people who live here, and most of them live on a fixed income. And then under Section 15, a bond can be issued. Is that one that's going to be applied to our taxes? Because I already pay on 2 bonds, a school bond and a Washoe County bond. And I pay over $2,000 every year in property, the property taxes part where it says bonds. I pay over $2,000 a year for that section alone. So the TRPA needs to spend their money cleaning up the lake, and they need to stop the government overreach. Please, the one other thing I want to bring up is they want to bring more people into the community. Well, there's a little problem with that, is that we've been compared to Lahaina. So if we had a fire here, chances of getting out alive are very, very slight. The current evacuation plans, they actually don't even include visitors. So I don't know how we're going to get out alive. So please vote no on this. Stop this horrible bill. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, ma'am. Next caller in opposition to Senate Bill 420.
Caller with the last three digits of 548, please press star 6 to unmute yourself. Please
Hi.
continue.
Hi, I'm Ann Nichols, 54-year resident, Nevada, California, real estate broker, own homes in Washoe County. Very familiar with how the TBID in California side has worked. It's run by the tourism groups, and they're in charge of $24 million a year. We have no real, they have some committees, but we have no real influence on where it goes. But we knew in the beginning how much the percentage was going to be, how long it was going to be for. There's no detail here. This is like an open checkbook. It's just so far from being ready to move forward. I don't know is it going to be on professionals? Is this financial institutions? This is it's kind of crazy, actually. So I'm hoping that you will not press this forward. It needs a lot more time. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Next caller in opposition to Senate Bill 420.
Hi, my name is Katrina Ivanov, and for the second time, I will say ditto, but because it's getting late, please vote no on this bill. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Next caller in opposition to Senate Bill 420, please.
Chair, you have no more callers in opposition at this time.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite those wishing to testify in the neutral position. Oh, my apologies. I just realized we accidentally skipped opposition here in person, Carson City or Las Vegas. If you please could come forward. And my apologies. It's been a long night. Good evening. Welcome. Whoever wishes to go first.
Stephen Dolan, 32-year resident, North Shore, Lake Tahoe. On behalf of the Friends of Third Creek on the North Shore as an environmental group. Chair, thank you for inviting us to speak here, committee as well. Please excuse the mixed metaphor related to April, but the bill number 420 actually seems to be perfect for the TRPA asking you to smoke the Kool-Aid. I'm sorry, but I had to. Maybe it'll wake us up. In their ever-reaching effort to develop Lake Tahoe's pristine and inviting environment, TRPA will destroy this alpine lake in its appeal to travelers. Already internationally, it is being touted as a place not to go because it's being destroyed by overdevelopment. Do not listen to the rationale that new business development districts will stay within their predetermined statute, for they will not help Lake Tahoe. Allowing TRPA to supersede local municipalities and GIDs will further enhance their power to ignore those local communities and have a better understanding of their developmental limits, safety requirements like evacuation, and their own local character, which is worth preserving. TRPA has already influenced Washoe County to change the business districts in Incline Village. That effort was so undesirable, the condo units that they were used to force this exception to the rules, to the business corridor, caused the developer to sell the whole concept as a failure. TRPA should not be in the business of transforming local municipalities. Please don't fall for this California has it excuse as well, because that is one of the ways they do things, is they bring things into California first, and then they say, well, for lake continuity, we want to have this in Nevada.
And sir, we are at the 2-minute mark, but if you want to do your closing remark, please.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
And thank you for waiting so patiently, staying into the late
No
hours of
problem.
the night. We appreciate it. Good evening, sir. Please.
Thank you. John Eppolito. An update to the story I told this committee about a month ago regarding that area of land and incline that local residents designated as low-income, moderate-income, and employee housing. Thanks to Washoe County and blessed by the TRPA, the zoning in the entire area was changed to allow the multi-million-dollar condos. The developer of the parcel I mentioned last time, 947 Tahoe Boulevard, has put that land, the plans, and the TRPA approvals up for sale for $11 million. That's what they're really up to. When TRP's updated regional plan was voted on last year, the highest-ranking elected member on TRPA's governing board, Secretary of State Cisco Aguilar, voted against the plan and said something like, quote, "The TRPA needs to start listening to the residents of Lake Tahoe," end quote. The TRPA has lost their way, and with SB 420, the TRPA will further alienate residents. The last 3 summers have seen the most traffic in the basin since we moved there 30 years ago. On the North Shore, for 8 weeks during the summer and 2 weeks over the holidays, we can be stuck in gridlock many times per day. 11 days ago, the RGJ published an article titled, quote, "It will not be survivable. Lake Tahoe could be a death trap during major wildfires." Instead of focusing on protecting Lake Tahoe and getting us out of the basin when there's a wildfire, the TRPA is trying to gain more control over the basin via SB 420 and implement things that make absolutely no sense, like bringing in even more people into the basin during fire season. The TRPA should stick to their original charter, which was to, quote, "protect Lake Tahoe," end quote. Please don't give them any more power. Thank you.
And thank you for, along with the other gentlemen, staying awake and late into the dark hours of government affairs. Is there anybody else wishing to testify in opposition? Seeing none, BPS, now we'll go back to you. Neutral for Senate Bill 420, please.
If you would like to testify neutral on SB 420, please press star 9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 4 digits of 945, please press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Yeah, good evening. I'm sorry, I was fumbling with the star signs. I'd like to speak in opposition. Is that still okay? Hello?
No worries. Please proceed. We'll mark you as opposition.
Okay, yeah, my name is Scott Teach, T-I-E-C-H-E, Nevada property owner, 45-year Tahoe resident. You know, I'm opposed to SB 420. I have to be kind of short. I only found out about this a couple of days ago, haven't had time to prepare. Most of the people I talk to don't know a thing about this. In short, this smacks of taxation without representation. Bids are sold as tourists paying their fair share. In reality, us locals will pay every day. The company Civitas has a checkered reputation. Do some research. They've been litigated for misrepresentation and lack of transparency. The Civitas being sued is just part of doing business because they're going to be more than compensated with their slice of the cake. The TRPA is in favor. Why? Because the TRPA just promotes more and more and more these days. No more conservation. This is just another power grab in these unprecedented times. Nevada promotes itself as tax friendly. Is this sneak around the popular vote friendly? Oppose this. Do the research and you will know you did the right thing. As the billboard says, just because California does it doesn't mean Nevada has to. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us this evening. Now we'll go to those wishing to testify in the neutral position for Senate Bill 420, please.
Chair, you have no callers neutral at this time.
Thank you. Now we'll go to anybody wishing to testify neutral here in Carson City or Las Vegas. Seeing none, any closing remarks, Senator?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Skip Daly again, representing Senate District 13 for the record. And I promise I'll be nice today. There were a few remarks that are slightly inaccurate on some of the stuff. First of all, it's not a tax, and it's businesses that are gonna self-assess. Many of the details that the one gentleman was talking about, how come, this, that, and the other thing, are all gonna be in the district management plan. The businesses are not gonna tax themselves, if you will, or assess themselves 20%. It's gonna be 1 or 2%, a couple of different businesses. It's just, people wanna throw TRP under the bus, and they got nothing to do with the bill. They're not involved. It's the businesses that are gonna set it up. There'll be an association of employers that oversee it. County has oversight on what they do and what they're allowed to do. So I'll let these two gentlemen make any comments they might have, but that's it.
Thank you, Senator Daly. Andy Chapman for the record. We have seen BIDs work. We have seen them work in close to us in Tahoe. We have seen them work in other states around the Union. Utah has a recent one that just happened, as have Wyoming and Colorado. So we are asking Nevada for the ability to replicate the success of these T-bids on the Nevada side. I am committed to working with all the commoners you heard from today to craft a stronger bill and to bring this to fruition for our region. Thank you very much for your support.
And before you leave, it did spark one question or a couple from Senator Krasner, please.
Chair, thank you for your presentation. So just some of the comments that the callers called in and were saying, is this assessment only on the businesses in the business improvement district, or are the homeowners going to be paying it? One of the callers said that. Thank you.
Businesses. And it's self-assessed.
Members, any additional comments, questions? Seeing none. Thank you all three for joining us this evening. With that, we'll go ahead and close out the hearing.
If I can make one final.
Please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, Skip Daly for the record. In some of the things that we heard about when they were, all the things with TRPA, people got issues with TRPA. What I didn't hear was anybody coming up with an idea that is going to address the traffic issue. I did hear a lot of people that say, I'm at the lake this many years, and all of you people coming up to visit my lake or invading my space. And that's just not the way the world is gonna work. We have to improve the traffic. We have to improve transit. We have to have, as the one caller said, we're all in favor of traffic, and we want it to be foot traffic. So I wanted to get that out there again. This will improve, or at least it's an opportunity to improve, and if we don't try it, we're stuck with nothing, which is not an option in my view.
And with that, thank you. We'll go ahead and close out the hearing on Senate Bill 420. Thank you all for hanging on. We still got to do public comment. At this time, I'd like to invite anybody wishing to come forward for public comment, Carson City or Las Vegas. Seeing no one coming forward, BPS, do we have anybody wishing to join us for public comment?
If you would like to participate in public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue.
Hello, Katrina Ivanov, IVAN, OFF, long time didn't talk here. Okay, so I wanted to express my big disappointment because every bill that I ever listen, you usually giving equal opportunity time for both opposition and support. However, for SB 156, everybody that was in opposition was heard, and yet that opportunity was not given. I'm sorry, everybody in support was heard, but that opportunity was not given for the opposition. And in many cases, I see that people are not treated equally when we are giving opinions. I understand people went through a nightmare, but in other cases, our side is not given that chance, and we also go through nightmares. And also, it wasn't acknowledged that 97% on your Nelly side is in opposition of the bill. So it sounded like you have a lot of support, but you also have a lot of opposition that I don't believe it was acknowledged, and I don't believe it was fair. And I would hope that from now on you would treat us more fairly and give equal time to everybody. And one of the reasons we're running so late is because you allow them to speak a lot more than they should have.
Ma'am, I'm gonna cut you off. Our vice chair, our vice chair would cut off speakers consistently on opposition and support. Multiple times, he told them, you have 2 minutes, and he would cut them off. In addition to that, 30 minutes were allocated to both sides, and the opposition did not use the full breadth of the 30 minutes. Nobody cut them off. You just didn't have enough people in opposition to fill up 30 minutes. That's not the vice chair's fault. He did a tremendous job, ma'am. And so we're not going to allow you to attack the vice chair because, and with that, we're going to go to the next speaker. Thank you. Next person in public comment.
Yeah, hi, Ann Nichols again. I know we're all exhausted. It's been a long day, but I just wanted to say TART Connect is really a free Uber, and we're just gathering all the financials on it right now. It's about $17 per ride, and it's just a terrible waste of money. You know, 6 to 13 million a year. So anyway, just wanted to point that out and just say that for the BID in California side, it's being run by the big resorts by committee. And so it's tourism people and big resorts, and these little business owners are at their mercy. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us. Next caller for public comment, please.
Hello, it's Pamela Sigdenis one more time. And like Ann, I know we're all exhausted. I just wanted to address Senator Krasner's question about how this affects the local community folks. Let me give you a story. Last October, friends from the East Coast came our way. They wanted to thank us for hosting them in our house and took us out to dinner locally. We booked a table at a locally owned and operated restaurant. It's a 35-year-old business. Wonderful meal, excellent service in Kings Beach, California. Our friend grabbed the bill, and upon reviewing the charges, he saw a strange line called bid. Puzzled, he asked what the extra fee for the total cost of the meal charge was. The wait staff apologized and said it was a tourism tax. But we're locals, he said. He noted many of their longtime local diners had the same experience. So this extra charge that locals didn't vote on and don't control is what SB 420 will do for the Nevada side of Tahoe. Those of us who live and patronize the businesses in our communities will pay this fee. We don't know how much it is. Obviously, there's a lot still being devised, but this is not a fair representation of what this particular new payment scheme is going to look like. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us again. Next caller for public comment, please.
Chair, you have no more callers wishing to provide public comment at this time.
Thank you. With that, we have nobody in Las Vegas or Carson City for public comment. I wanted to say thank you to everybody. Before we head off, I just want to give everybody a lay of the land for Monday. Members, I do want to let you know that Monday and Wednesday will be equally as long as today, if not possibly even longer. Be ready for that. And the only way we can avoid Friday being this long of next week is if we have a very long Monday and a very long Wednesday. So I just want to get everybody ready for that. Because I anticipate Monday being an extra long day, I'm going to work with my team on getting everybody some dinner as an appreciation to everyone's late hours alongside of me. And I wanted to say very quickly thank you to our staff for their amazing work as always and staying with us so late. And I also wanted to thank the members, particularly those who sit on judiciary. We had a very long, exhausting, emotionally exhausting hearing in judiciary. And then immediately after that, we came to government affairs to have another emotionally exhausting hearing in 156. I just wanted to thank you all for that. I didn't realize that we had stacked it in that way, so I just wanted to thank you all. With that, members, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.